if it helps in the editing. I don't understand basketball or the NBA because it's not a Pittsburgh sport other than our basketball team in our college. So it's not a real sport to me, so you can't actually get in trouble for this one.
That's fair. That's fair. Do you actually live in Pittsburgh itself, the proper, or like?
No, I'm an hour and a half east
Okay.
towards the mountains, so I live rural. So
Okay.
like I could get there real quick. Pittsburgh's a weird
That's right. Go
city.
Bucks! Did you see that dunk Giannis just threw down on the poor dude? Oh, I just, I mean, this is maybe a jump in the cold open here, but I mean, my mental health has not been doing very good, and I've been trying more stuff than I usually try, for it, and it's like I think that like I've got a meter that's just like emptying. It's like a mana bar, and it's just like it's spent, and I keep throwing ethers at it, but I need like turbo ethers, you know?
See, you need to real quick. You need to stop looking at it that way. You need to look at it as you're in full block mode, and no matter what life throws at you at this point, they can't chip damage you out.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So
That's what it
I
is.
am
You're
Daigo.
down back. You're down back. Yeah, you're down back crouch, and you're just waiting for that super to pop.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm Daigo. I'm waiting for it to. They're trying to chip me out, but I'm getting the actual parries in.
Yep.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is like one of the things that just always gives me a boost it, I guess it's like vicarious adrenaline or like whatever it is seeing Giannis just dunk on some poor bastard, and then the mean mug that follows where he's just like that right there. I don't know what it is. I mean I've watched sports a long time. There are a couple of sports celebrations that just like you know are kind of iconic, but nothing
Right.
for me. It's the mean mug. It's just specifically Giannis's mean mug, and
Yep.
it's really a great story because he's like this really nice like person from like Athens, Greece, and and yep, there's ganked by children again. He's a really nice person from Athens, Greece, and like he coming into the NBA, they said he was too nice, so he had to develop being mean because you'll
Right.
just get pushed around. I mean, people don't think like of the NBA as like a high contact sport, but like it really is. I mean, you're throwing your body legally into
Oh,
people in
yeah.
very specific ways. And so he actually modeled his mean mug. It's the wrestling thing where you take something and then you become a caricature of it. And he modeled it
Right.
after KD, and so he's just a caricature of somebody who's already a
A
caricature.
caricature.
So it
And I
just
understand.
go ahead.
If we get Age of Sigmar, whether it's through T Sports or whatever, into that level of like wrestling, which is what I would love and find it much more interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
know that I would either A, have to immediately become like a color commentary person,
Mm-hmm.
or B, I'd have to turn heel immediately because I could not survive in a WWE environment just being me as I am right now.
Right, right.
So I understand his struggle.
Right, right. Real quick, minimum pants, reminding everybody for 1,000 RDB that Chat Gang ain't nothing to fuck with. Also, dropping a nice little knowledge bomb saying the NBA is a contact sport. Football, hockey are collision sports. I like that. I like that. I think that's a really good characterization of it.
That's part of it. I played work on lunch break before I got really into lifting. I didn't understand that difference. So I was flying tackling people in basketball. And if they got a broken rib, they die, they die.
Mm.
Like you sit on the court. First time, that's on me. Third, fourth, fifth time, you keep inviting me back. You know what I'm about, guys.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. But folks are showing up. Furious Bumble Goose asking, "Wait, Miley Cyrus? Are we doing this? Oh, we're doing this. We are doing this. I have a page of notes. Chuck's got 6 pages of notes that he's just shared with me, and no doubt his own. I combed through and did my homework with the title tracks that he made me listen to for each album. I've got my own takes. We are doing this. This is episode 62 of RantCast. You donated over $7,000 to Mental Health America. One of the goals was we do this discography review for Miley Cyrus. That's right, Age of Sigmar, Miley Cyrus. You don't know how the Venn diagram quite lines up, but right,
That Venn diagram where I'm like pop stars, Warhammer, Chuck's in the middle. And I just force people to listen to my insane bullshit, and
Right.
you guys seem to enjoy it. So I'm not gonna shut up. Not
Right.
wasn't
Right.
going to anyway.
Can we just do Pepsi Milk again? I.
No, no, we are doing Miley Cyrus. This is much better than Pepsi Milk.
But I mean, so here's just kind of my take off the jump. The thing I respect the most in people is passion for a thing. It's something that I had to work hard to reconcile kind of growing up because I was a nerd, but I was a secret nerd. Like I was the really more firmly in the camp lumped based on like music interests and stuff like that. And then like my hobby interests took over in college. But growing up,
Right.
I was like, we didn't have like a full blown goth clique or even like a full blown punk clique, so we got lumped in with like the metalheads, right? So like the people who watched SLC Punk and Mallrats and thought it was the coolest shit ever, and like like that sort of like residual heat grunge punk metal clique we all got lumped into called the Boots. Dirty boot, because most of us tend to wear like Doc Martens or like Army Navy surplus jump boots, and then like the chains and the mohawks and the like this. That was kind of like
Pants, Jenko pants.
no, never Jinkos. Jinkos was something that
Really?
the Rats or the Hip Hop Kids or
Okay.
like the Rats were the hip hop kids. They were called Rats. The Rats wore them. I could do a whole like early '90s movie on my highly clicky, the worst clicky high school I've ever been to, which is Winona, Minnesota. One of the clickiest places. I went to in the end 5 different high schools, one high school twice, for 6 total moves in high school, and of all of them, it was hard lines. To be a social butterfly in that context was super difficult. Like they were like
Right.
social butterflies were essentially like untouchables or like an untouchable cast. It was really weird if you got along with everybody. Um, and I
Yeah.
so I kept the fact that I liked RPGs. Vampire the Masquerade was an obvious one. Riffs was pretty big. But when you're a goth kid, like people pretty much just assume like you walk into a room and you keep it secret that you play vampire because you don't want to be lumped in with the nerds. But
Right.
now that I'm older, I look back on that all and I go, I was just a huge fucking nerd that didn't know it
Yeah.
yet. And because it's nerdy to be a goth. Like I look back on like goths and then like the later iteration, which is emos, and I just make fun of them so hard, or at least I did. And this is where I'm going with this: is at some point I realized, and this has happened around college, that the worthiest part of an interest is passion for the interest. I used to get really granular with, I can't like the jocks because this, and I can't like, so I liked sports in elementary school and middle school, and then when I got to high school, I wasn't allowed to like sports anymore because that wasn't my clique. And I didn't get to come back
Right.
around to sports until college when you go, like, it's more like cultural and there's, I'm going to it in Wisconsin. You realize liking the Green Bay Packers becomes like a universal language, and like as
Right.
soon as you have that like sport universal language, which is what I really love about sports. But because I had this weird lifestyle, I recognized. I'm sorry, I'm talking really. This is a really long tangent. I'll let you jump in here, bud. I realized though that like they're all just nerds. Sports nerds are nerds for sports. They're just at that time period they were the
Oh
socially
yeah.
acceptable
Yeah.
nerd.
No.
Like go ahead. No.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say 100%. Like I was pretty lucky with my high school. Um, as time went on, so like yeah, like we were clicky. I was the fat nerd. I liked D&D. I played Pokemon. I played video games. That was my group. Um, I was also in the marching band. And then as time went on, like I did wrestling for a year, and then all of a sudden the jocks liked me because I could do what they did. But I still played D&D and did all this other stuff. I would also hang out with them, and but naturally everyone kind of intermixed. So as we progressed and got like into senior high school,
Mhm.
we all just kind of stopped caring about those boundaries, which was a very nice thing because everyone's just like, oh, we're just people. And then actually, it was really refreshing because we learned before we all went to college that just hang out and do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because that's what college is. College is when you're just like, you guys are my friends, and I'm gonna do what I do because I like it, and that's why we're friends.
Well,
And if you don't like it, then I'm not gonna hang out with you because we're not gonna probably meet. Who cares?
yeah, like I had I mean, I think I've shared this story before. I had a girlfriend for 2 years sophomore and junior year in high school, didn't know I played D&D or video games. For 2 years. Hung out I walked her home every day of school. We hung out most weekends. The weekends we didn't hang out, I was playing D&D, and after I would walk her home, I would walk to Rogue Traders in Green Bay and go play Vampire the Masquerade or Rifts.
There you go.
And because it was such a different. Now, Green Bay West High School is actually really, really cool, and Green Bay and then East De Pere, where I ended up going after that for my junior year, or prior to my junior year. Those were really cool because that was where like the barriers were starting to break down. So my sophomore year, I actually played soccer with like a lot of what would have been what we would have considered like the hip hop clique or the other cliques by Winona standards, and they're like, oh, he plays soccer with us. Cool, like the weird dude with jet black hair down to the middle of his back and like black nail polish playing soccer with him. They didn't give a crap.
He's a striker. Let him in.
Yeah, no, like he plays soccer, and like I was like they didn't care, like because I played sports, but I wasn't learning the lesson yet because I didn't really like outside of that soccer, like playing soccer. I didn't really associate, like I didn't go hang out at their houses or anything. Like we just played, we were friendly to each other on the field because we were a team, and then like when I left, it was like I didn't hang out with them.
So, it's a whole thing. Like I always remember, like like whenever you're walking around, you see a kid crying and screaming, and you're just like, kid, like you don't know what problems are. You gotta remember the world you live in. At that kid, whatever that problem that kid is that he's crying and screaming about, that's his world right now. You got to be like, okay, I see where you're coming from. High school's the same thing. That's our world. Like, you didn't want to upset it and lose what status you did had. And then you get to college and you're just like, my world is everything. Mm-hmm. It's whatever I want to be. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is growing. So it's like, I understand. I 100% understand it. I never had the tact when I was in high school at the young age when I was, overweight and nerdy and all that to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't tell people about this. I'm just like, I'm walking around and be like, I like Pokemon. Bulbasaur's my favorite Pokemon. And everyone's like, fucking nerd. I'm just like, I'm playing Pokemon.
Oh, it's...
And now I'm like walking around like, I'm playing Pokemon. I'm gonna go deadlift twice my body weight. I'm gonna play more Pokemon. Everyone's like, all right, cool.
Well, it's weird because like now that we're adults, it's like I do think that some of those barriers break down, but I also feel like some people still want it to be high school. And I know this is as evidence because like I just watch Facebook conversations. I'm like, this is high school drama, but adults are doing it right now. I'm like, so they still like want this like weird high school drama. But before I bury the lead,
you would know that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say, the secret of Facebook is.
Don't have it.
I just unfollow most people.
Yeah, just unfollow everything. Never comment on any like universal post. Like even if you like an article for something, whatever it is, it could be an Onion like satire post where you're just like, hey, this is funny, or like it could be like a HuffPo and whatever, or like a Fox News article, whatever it is, whatever ends up in your feed, just never comment on them. Like the 11th commandment is thou shalt not read the comments. I think there's it's been amended to thou shalt not post a comment. You just don't on Facebook. Just don't.
See, I will. Where I will post a comment outside. Obviously, I have my little club, our group setting within there for my local gaming club. So we'll chat in there.
That's different.
So fine, whatever. Yeah, that's different. That's different. You know everybody in there.
Yeah.
I will post on Daughters of Cain, Warhammer, Age of Sigmar Facebook page posts because I know no matter what, if anyone ever decides to come at me in there, that I win. Go ahead. Good luck. I win.
Right.
Like so, it's just like that's my safe play. Like if you absolutely know 100%, not that you think you know. Like if you're gonna post politics, you don't know. You just think you know. Like all right, just don't worry about it. But if you,
I do know. I just don't post them because I know.
Sure. But if you post it on OBR, it's like if you post it on an OBR thread, who's gonna fight you. Look at you, Herald of Nagash. Who's gonna fight you? Not me. I don't care. Nagash is terrible. I
might actually be a avatar of Nagash sent to a world without enough power to support my true form. I think I might actually be one of those like avatars of Nagash that gets cast out across the mortal realms. But I had to take on this weaker form. Because,
your penance is life. Your penance is life right now, sir.
Yeah. Like I don't sleep because the dead don't sleep. Like.
So you know who else doesn't sleep?
Miley Cyrus.
because she's just putting out bangers left and right.
I
My
actually,
goodness.
before we jump into this, I want to you mentioned I think maybe it was in the cold open or maybe right before we went live that you didn't listen to pop music in high school, which is really what got me talking about this
Yeah, no.
because kind of masking. We call it when you are a nerd but you don't let other people know you're a nerd. We call it masking your power level. Um,
Oh, okay,
that's
yeah.
which is
I
the
get it. I
nerd.
get it.
So you weren't good at masking your power level, but you also didn't listen
No.
to pop music.
No, it was I was in marching band and all that. In orchestral. I did chorus for a year. It was fun, but wasn't singing wasn't my jam as much. Like I listened to like rock, punk rock. That was more my theme. Like
Yeah,
Sum 41, No Doubt, Green Day,
you're younger than me,
obviously.
aren't you, Chuck?
34.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah, not much. But I also had like this really healthy love, thanks to my dad, of not, I don't want to say country, because country now is like really changed in a weird way, but classic country. So Johnny
Cut.
Cash, George Jones, like, and then the older rock too that kind of blended with that.
Well,
So
you
like
have
I had
what's
it. Yeah.
outlaw rock, right, and then like
Yeah.
bluegrass, and like so you had that
Oh,
even
yeah.
even by like modern standards, um, oh gosh, continue. Yeah, but like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's where my music taste was, but I wasn't like always into music. Like occasionally there'd be like a really nice pop song that's like really catchy and like it'd be summer and windows down, like it was fun, but like I didn't really like invest into that genre because I didn't really care. And there was that whole stigmata, like oh Britney Spears, like my sister likes Britney Spears, I can't like Britney Spears. Then there's just one day I'm just like Toxic's a pretty good song, and then like listen, even like college too, like
I
that's when
like
it really kicked in,
Britney Spears, the one
like my
song by her, the Womanizer. I think that song's just
oh yeah,
fantastically catchy.
that's good, yeah. Like I said, looking
Womanizer,
back on it now,
Womanizer, like it's such a catchy tune.
yeah,
I see.
like
What you're talking about here is part of my clique was metal, the metal punk rocker guy.
yeah,
Goth. I was a goth at that point. Transitioned toward goth light later on, and then just like generic punk as it
right.
progressed. But like I was not allowed to like other music in that period of time. If it played on the radio, it had to suck by default. Um,
Yeah.
it had to suck, and so like I
Oh.
wasn't. I hate me from that age, by the way. Like I would kick
Mhm.
the crap out of 12-year-old Andrew who thinks he has everything figured out. Like fuck that guy.
I
Mephisto's way cooler. Continue.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, no. Oh, younger me, what a piece of shit. And then high school, I definitely developed. I'm not sure if it's just my area, if it's just what you do in high school, but like found a really good love for like true music players, like Dave Matthews Band, and like all the guests you'd have on, like just listening, going to concerts, and like listening to a 10-minute riff of two step was an enjoyable time for me.
Mhm.
Like I can still do that on occasion, but like college, like it's like pop kind of just started kicking in. Like I remember driving home a winter night from college. It was dark, and I should also say too, like I was much more literary in my love of art in high school. Like
Could you explain
I
that, please?
loved, I loved Shakespeare. I loved books, like classic books.
I go back to we would have been total bros in high school, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
like,
Um,
I was the word nerd. Like I was the moody art poet guy in all like the in the corner of the classroom. All that was me.
right.
But like I wasn't
Mhm.
afraid to talk unlike the usual like really quiet version. I was actually
Right.
really I was a lot more Daria than
Oh, okay.
like kind of outspoken about how much of
Yeah.
a weirdo I was.
Well, it's like well, I remember distinctly. This is the first time whenever like I listened, and it was Taylor Swift's Love Story, which is a Romeo and Juliet, and I was
Okay.
listening to it, and spoiler if you've never listened to that song, which is old, at the end she changes the ending where Romeo like mans up and goes and asks the father and says, I want to marry her, I don't care, and like and then that's the ending. They get married. It's happy, and I was just like, God damn it, I like happy endings. I like Romeo and Juliet. Taylor Swift wrote a goddamn good song.
Is
And
this is this the origin story of you liking Tay Tay?
it's the seed. It didn't really like begin to develop, but like that was like kind of like one of my entries towards pop. Like, okay, maybe not all pop is so bad. Maybe, and then I will say this: like, there's a lot of pop that I really like, that has narrative, has story. Taylor Swift's a good one. That's like she writes her own stuff. She's, like she's excellent. She'll tell a story through the course of her albums, and I really like that, and I really appreciate that as I got older. Now, there's also trash pop. One of my
Bubblegum
favorite
pop is
trash.
what we usually called it, like bubblegum,
Okay,
like where it's just like,
I've heard that term, but like I call it trash because like the lyrics mean nothing. I'm just listening to the beat.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like my favorite of that is I think it's Demi Lovato. Uh, never like it's like Sun, Stars, Moon Collide or whatever. I forget what the title of it is, but like that song comes on and I just jam to it and I'll turn it up. I don't care what the words are. I just enjoy the beat.
See what you're talking about here with this like literary thing. This was my huge hang up growing up as like someone who liked music. The music had to mean something or I hated it. Like I couldn't listen to music without meaning. Why did I love Tool? Because I was a pretentious asshole who liked that Maynard didn't put the lyrics in like Undertow. Still, like freaking slaps. Like, why don't you watch where you want around? Like that whole thing's got like, it's kind of, it's when Tool is still kind of funky. It's so good. But like he didn't put the lyrics in the book, and like his whole thing was, I don't put the lyrics in the book because I want you to listen to my music first and interpret it for yourself. And I'm like, that's the coolest shit ever. And I was just a pretentious asshole. That was the moment I became a pretentious asshole about music.
So here's a little anecdote. Not obviously not this year, but last year at going down to Nova Open. I'm gonna give a shout out to my friend Sean, Brush for Hire. He's Brush for Hire, Twitch TV.
I auto host
Great
him.
guy.
Yeah, I auto host him out here on Twitch.
Oh, nice. We were driving down together. I was driving, and he knows I like pop. I was like, "What music do you want on the drive down?" Because it's a 3.5 hour drive for us. So like, I'm not gonna just be like, "Here, deal with my crap." And he's like, "Hey, can you put on the new Tool songs? The new Tool album's coming out. And there's a 10-minute song." And like, he gave me a bunch of other recommendations. And like, I can appreciate all types of music, and I'll listen to it and I'll enjoy it. For some reason, that 10-minute Tool song that they released to show off their album, I was 5 minutes in and I just turned it off, and I was just like, I cannot listen to that ever. I'm like, this is doing absolutely nothing for me. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, when we get there, if you want to listen to it in the car on your own, that's fine. But like,
you like, don't want to hear the Fibonacci sequence like made into a song, because that's what that is.
Fucking point. Get to a fucking point. All right. Sure, we're in this car for another hour and a half, and it's only a 10-minute song, but I don't have time for you.
Real quick here, Furious Bumblegoose, this is off topic, but hey, chat gang, you are the show within the show, so here we go. Any of you guys thinking of submitting to the Black Library submissions window? Yes. I want to write a vampire scary story. Or a werewolf one.
Right within the realm of my Daughters of Cain, but I'm trying to think of what I want to write. I had an idea for the last one, I just didn't commit to it. I'm going to try and commit to this one, and I know it's not going to go well, it's my first time doing it, but like I just want to go through the process, even to like this very entry level.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool what Black Library is doing there. That's fantastic. Yeah, but back to like music, like I was talking about, like I was such a snob about music. I remember like needing it to have like organic instruments. What actually helped me get over this, by the way, is video game music. Like, because like if it doesn't have organic instruments in it, like, you know, go to hell. I mean, I still give huge props to like Outkast and Dr. Dre, because fantastic on the production side of music. But they also blend like synth with like synth and like, you know, sort of produce music and sample beats and stuff like that with organic music and instruments. And I'm like, this is peak music. This is when music is at its height, is when we're using robots and humans together.
You're right. I'll say that too. Like, and we'll get to it a little bit as we break down the albums a little bit. I love a good mixing of genres.
Yes.
It can go really bad. It can go really, really bad, but like if you hit it right,
you can Fred Durst it, right? Like you can Fred Durst it and just be like the two worst sides of rock and roll and rap, and just like smash them together. As much of a Limp Bizkit fan as I was at the time, that's not going to last. Right.
To me. It'll still be there, but it's not going to be what he's known for.
Yeah, he's actually a really good producer though. Like he really is. Like I mean, I make fun of him a bunch, but like Fred Durst, like if you look, I was looking through some really, really popular albums at one point. I'm like, Fred Durst produced this? Like even like Stained, and I know that like Stained got played out and stuff like that. But like there was a time when like Stained was like peak music. I love Cold, by the way. I think he had a hand in Cold as well. I love Cold. Cold is like for me, Cold was the last good true grunge band.
Mhm.
But I digress on that. Roland was
Like
fine. Roland was fine. Like
the closest thing I got to grunge was Andrew WK.
oh, Andrew WK is just a character. But this is
I
this is
love
the
him.
thing. This is the thing I didn't have going for me when I was at that age when pop music was really, really taking over. You know, when I was getting into music, it was grunge. You know, and grunge
Yeah.
had reshaped reality for music that got played on the radio. On the 102, I think it was 102.1 Kiss FM in and in Winona, out of La Crosse, by way of La Crosse, which is it was the alternative rock station. They played Radiohead, the presidents of the United States of America. Like they played like and the funky old stuff too, like the really
Right.
cool, like not just Lump, their like kind of radio hit. They played like Little Dune Buggy and like some really cool stuff. Like they were like the weird sort of like radio rebels that played like a lot like this whole wide range, but they couldn't have done that if it weren't for grunge coming and just punching pop music. Because we were talking about country here a little bit. Country music for the bulk of sort of radio history was pop music, which is what you need to like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
when you realize that like Woody Guthrie.
Honestly, just go to like a Wikipedia page on pop music, and you'll go back and be like, "What was pop?" And it's like, pop is literally just like, what was the big thing? Like, what was, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't necessarily
Pop is
as
what's
much
popular,
genre driven
right?
as it is now.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Like now there's a theme to it. Like it's its own true genre. Like, but
right,
it's also too, like you'll notice, like as we said here, like pop will also take a lot more influences because it influenced everything
right.
to a point. To a point. I don't want to global.
I mean,
That's a big broad brush, but
like pop rock is also like pop rock in the 80s is when like 80s pop rock was like a huge thing. And I'm going to talk about Madonna a lot when we start talking about Miley Cyrus here. Disco. Madonna had essentially her big in the early 80s. Her claim to fame was essentially taking like disco and making it like somehow appeal to the young crowd. Because like disco was starting to age out in the 80s, right? We've all seen Detroit Rock City. Like disco sucks. Great flick. One of those like fantastic date movies when I was like a teenager. But like Almost Famous is another one. But like you had that era where like pop just kind of like takes stuff and kind of crunches it to like and blends it to become popular. And for a while, like I really kind of turned my nose down at that. The band that did it for me, by the way, was Maroon 5.
oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Maroon 5, like we're talking circa 2002, because and what it was in the end that won me over to pop music was humor and the humor of Maroon 5. And I haven't really liked most of the later stuff because he just never gets out of his falsetto and like I can't handle it.
Listen, have you seen those abs? All right.
He's astonishing. Okay, like he is a specimen of a man, but like
He can sing whatever he wants to me. I'm fine. It's good. Just keep
yeah,
going, buddy.
yeah. But like it was Maroon 5, like the original, like kind of that like this love have make a move my way. Like I'm like he's playing his own instruments, writing his own songs, and doing it because he wants to get laid. I'm like that's the most honest pop music has ever been. I'm like that's the most honest pop music, and that like sold me on it. And I'm like I'm in. Like I can listen to pop now. And I had this period where when I was really young, I liked rap a lot and rap and hip hop. But then like when I got put into my clique, I had to stop listening to rap. And it's like kind of horribly regrettable because now I'm happy with how my journey ended because then I went back in time and then I listened up through rap and now I'm like caught up and I love rap music about it.
You Captain America it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Postmodern
I
jukebox
guess
sold me on pop music.
I guess we should say too for the. Do you still do this as a podcast as well? Do you release it as a
Yeah,
podcast?
it'll be on a podcast.
Okay. So real quick, just for everybody at home as well as the audio listeners in the future, all the albums we're going to talk about can be found on Spotify for Miley Cyrus, and with the exception of the backyard sessions and then the couple of the covers that we talk about, which can be found on YouTube just by searching Miley Cyrus backyard sessions. So it's all there. I do have links in my notes. If you want to copy and paste them into the chat as we go along.
Yeah,
If everyone wants to listen at home, go right ahead.
So I made this really easy for folks. I just shared the Discord link. If you hop into Discord and you're in the general chat there, every album we're going to talk about, the link to Spotify is in chronological order there. So if you scroll up a little bit, because some folks have been chatting in Discord, it's going to begin in 2K7, 2007, with what's her breakout album?
Breakout.
Breakout is her
Breakout.
breakout album. Little on the nose, but I get you.
We are
Real quick.
we are skipping Hannah Montana except for one song.
Okay, thank you, and that's a me thing, right?
That's for you. That's for
Okay,
you.
thank you. Furious Bumblegoose says, I'm thinking Beast of Chaos. This is back to the writing thing. Want them to feature in a story where they are genuinely scary. I love this idea. Like if you got some like American monster sensibilities, Beast of Chaos as like, there's this point where like we kind of need to like divorce ourselves from points and like trying to have armies be equal and yada 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 that happens in Age of Sigmar as when we look at it through the competitive lens as we so often do. But to like boil down armies to like the coreness of the badassery they're supposed to present, Catacross gets killed by a Gorgon, and as it's delivered in his narrative, it's not that he jobs to a 160-point model, it's that he is killed by one of the most terrifying primal things in the universe.
Right. Think of it. You have to. This is where 40K succeeds. Like you can have a novel about a massive space station that's in trouble, and they call for help, and one Space Marine shows up, and they're just like, "What are you gonna do?" And he fixes everything. All the Space Marine games, like a Space Marine should be able to take on like a couple thousand orcs and probably figure it out with like five other like Imperial Guard with him. We need to get that mindset in Age of Sigmar for sure.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, well, that's in Soulbound just this last week. Here we go, self-hype. Chuck Moore, along with Warhammer Weekly and Halo, join me every Friday live on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern, or 8 p.m.
10
Central.
p.m. Eastern. 10 p.m. Eastern.
10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, to do Soulbound. One of the struggles, it was just such a light struggle, but like I felt the immediate like sort of recoil when I tried to point out that like you had like liberators with you essentially, like generic, and like no, like each individual Stormcast is a Superman. You have 5 Supermans with you right now. And Soulbound does a decent job of like making them better than you and just saying you have to deal with this, but you still sense that like we all play Age of Sigmar and just kind of like leaning back in a way like, oh, Stormcast aren't that impressive.
I think someone asked, like, are they liberators or something useful?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, and like the eye roll, I hope people could feel through the camera.
Yeah.
When like I rolled my eyes dramatically, because it's just like
A liberator, before he died and became a liberator, has done more than all of us combined will ever do in our lives as far as leading and uniting and being heroic, most likely.
I mean, like a single liberator is Joan of Arc, right? Like
Yeah,
a single liberator is George Washington. Like it come on, like you But now I'm interrupting our Miley Cyrus talk with Age of Sigmar. The point is,
get that out of here.
The point is, Bumblegoose, I think it's a fantastic idea to do Beasts of Chaos, and I think that they really will work well in a narrative sense for like a especially like a monster, like a Jason Voorhees style, or like a Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men style, just like unstoppable evil force.
But just as a side note, there's a really old Black Library novel, really old. You probably can't find it anymore, but you might be able to find it online, like stealing it. It's called The Wine of Dreams, but it has and it's definitely old fantasy, but it has Beast of Chaos as the main evil, scary, terrifying enemy. So go look it up, however means necessary.
Right. Yeah, and Gorgons up here in the library of my mind will always be the supreme badasses they deserve to be. Like we're talking like I in the headcanon that I've developed, if you're a generic keeper of secrets, a Gorgon is a fair fight, you know, like, and there's some legendary mythic Gorgon that could break 2 keepers of secrets over its knees, like so. And for those of you in pure audio, I did the like so gesture. Minimum Pants says it's well established in Pants Mafia lore that George Washington brought Geminids to every battle. Makes sense. Yeah, no,
That,
legit. Um, so Miley Cyrus, as you mentioned, like we're gonna only be covering essentially Miley Cyrus, um,
yes.
with the exception of like a single song that we'll kind of like we'll talk about, and we'll talk about that for a
Well,
very specific reason to my channel here. Go ahead.
right, and we'll do that. We'll do that at the very end. We're gonna save the one Hannah Montana for the very end, because it
Perfect.
was like it was part of the Hannah Montana movie, wasn't it?
I believe
One of them.
so. I believe so. So,
Yeah,
so when I
because
was doing my cursory research, as Hannah Montana, she only really billboarded with soundtracks and singles.
there was one like I said the soundtrack to the movie was her first real, I guess you could say, album. It
Hmm.
was Hannah Montana. I don't know, 2 or whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's not important for
It,
the purpose of this discussion.
yeah, if they were important to her, she would probably just sing them again, and it'd be great.
Do you want to stick with Do you want to stick with the genesis of you getting into pop music, or do we want to shift gears into completely Miley Cyrus right now?
We can go right into Miley Cyrus.
All
That's
right,
fine.
all right. So point is, at some point, like you got into pop music. I too got into pop music, though I got into it. It took me a while to really truly admit it, and then I went kind of back and I started enjoying it. Now I need to state for purposes of Miley Cyrus, or maybe I'll tell everybody where I warmed up to Miley Cyrus as we go through this chronologically. I think that's important. I'll do it that way because for me, pop music isn't something I seek out. And I think that's the big distinguish between how I consume music now because I'm very personally eclectic. I listen to everything these days with the exception of pop country because it's garbage. Um, Pop music is very hit or miss because you get the fun pop music where it's like, okay, this is fun. Like that's Party in the USA. It's such a fun song. If you don't like it, I
Yep.
don't know who you are. You know, that's it's just
Yep.
fun. It doesn't even matter. It's just a fun song. So there's fun pop. There's pop that kind of pushes the boundaries of what even is pop music or subverts people, which is what the WAP song is right now, which I just ah delicious. What a fantastic tune. I have for
Did you have to have such a wet smacking lip
Oh, I
noise with
did.
it?
I did. This is for
You
verisimilitude.
can't not.
This is for verisimilitude. I Cardi B was a nobody to me, and this is what I'm talking about. Like I don't seek out pop music. Pop music has to seek me out. Um, but like when this song hit, it's just been like one whole week of me watching squares get triggered and clutch their pearls. It's amazing. I'm so happy. I've never had more enjoyment from a pop song. Like just and not even listening to it. Just watching people on the internet get mad. It's amazing. This is why I know she has won. Like she has won. It's the Pope boycotting Madonna and Pepsi all over again in like circa 1991 or whatever. Amazing. Amazing.
I guess we will give the distinction for me. Like, I enjoy many types of music, and I will put on lots of things. It's just my default is always pop because that's what matches my vibration in this world.
Oh, okay. I like this take.
Hmm.
My default setting's still in my rock axiom. You know,
Yeah.
I still default to listening to like whatever flavor. Today I was listening to Nine Inch Nails at the beginning of the day, and I ended
Hmm.
it on listening to Foxing, which is a really cool kind of like pseudo indie experimental band. Really kind
Okay.
of remind me a little bit of like Radiohead, but like
Hmm.
with this just amazingly like shrill falsetto that defies logic of human vocals. The way he's able to deliberately crack his voice and maintain all of the gravitas of like it's insane. Like, his voice is insane. It's You have to enjoy a good falsetto because he's always singing in that upper register through his
Is it
nose.
is it like Freddie Mercury style of skill? Not style, but skill.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
This is a whole unique skill. So when you're falsettoing,
Okay.
usually you're pushing the. So I was in choir, and I have a lot of musical training and stuff like that. When you falsetto, you're usually pushing the music essentially, or you're pushing. Oftentimes, you're pushing from your diaphragm. When you sing, you're opening up and blah blah blah. When you falsetto, you're kind of pinching your vocal cords and forcing the sound up higher toward like your nasal passages, and so you get this like really sort of pinched off, but it allows you to hit higher notes that you normally can't hit. Um, And what he does is he manages to falsetto and also crack his voice. And crack your voice in is when you get that sort of pinched off. This is the
Yeah.
death metal thing. So he falsettos and he cracks his voice, and then he's singing from his chest the whole time. I don't know how he sings like this. I don't know, but I can see it annoying people because some people just don't enjoy a falsetto. It's because it's pitchy. It's a very pitchy song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ended the day on the Foxing. So I was in my rock axiom today, but when RTJ4 dropped, I listened to that album and hip hop for a month solid. RTJ Run the Jewels, of course, my second favorite hip hop rap group. Hip hop is different from rap, but
I've been staying mostly in the Miley mindset till this show came out. But on my drive home, I wanted a little refresher, so I put in a good general mix. But a lot of what I had was Panic at the Disco was really rocking for me today.
Which version? Original iteration or this weird new iteration where
I like a little bit of both. I haven't explored them in depth. I've explored songs I like with them. So some of it's new, some of it's old. One of my favorites will always be "Let's Kill Tonight" from them. But this is not the Panic at the Disco episode. This is the Miley Cyrus episode. So it all begins back with "Achy Breaky Heart." Should we go there?
So no, I mean I think it's important because Miley Cyrus is the inverse of Bob and Jacob Dylan. Like Bob Dylan, everyone knows who Bob Dylan is. Jacob Dylan is the Wallflowers lead singer, the son of Bob Dylan. He only ever achieved pop rock success, like kind of nominally, and is a competent pop musician, but like he is not Bob Dylan. And he had to live his entire life in the shadow of who will probably go down as lyrically the greatest musician of all time. The man's won the Pulitzer Prize for his lyrics, which is just unheard of.
Right.
Like they shifted the rules of the Pulitzer Prize shifted and considered him poetry, which is actually why I love music, because I writer, poet. We talked about the literary sense of music earlier. For me, poetry is dead in its traditional sense. It moved into music. That's where poetry lives now, like in music.
Yeah.
That's
Sonnets, all that sort of stuff. Yep.
So Jacob Dylan is just like, I'm sorry, man. I like you. One headlights, like it's a slapper. Like it's
I say, like it's the thing. Like you said Jacob Dylan. I'm just like, I don't recognize who it is. You said Wallflowers. I'm like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
You say Bob Dylan. I know who Bob Dylan is.
Right. Right. And so you have Achy Breaky Heart, which is of course Miley's dad, Billy Ray Cyrus, and that's it. Apart from Old Town Road, but we really need to make the distinction that he did not write Old Town Road. That was Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X made this song.
Probably because he's friends with Miley and said, "Hey, can I have your dad?"
Billy Ray Cyrus is just like, "Cool, I'll help out," and like. Honestly, I liked his timbre in it, like because he's like he's in that he's got that real good twang going, like.
Actually, if you listen, I think
like he's really like.
I think Billy Ray's done a fair amount of like guest stuff like that, which he really excels at because he just puts on, I think, his more natural singing voice. Because he's like, this isn't about me, and I think it works really well for him.
Well, because in the '90s, he's very much in the '90s mode, which is when '90s country is both the best era and worst era for country music, because you had you had Garth Brooks, right? Like you cannot deny Garth Brooks is probably it's Johnny Cash and Garth Brooks are probably like the icons, of Dolly Parton and Patsy Cline. Like like it's just, but like, so, but the '90s is like, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It's the two tower, or the two cities.
That's when like the country kind of split. Because like now we have the pop country, which like it's 99% hot garbage.
It's just '80s rock worse. It's just worse '80s rock is all it is, and it's like, oh man, like you went back in time to sound worse, whereas like country was kind of like progressing and pushing, and that's when you got your like Garth Brooks, where he kept kind of pushing what even country was, and then other country kind of regressed and recoiled and pulled back.
Hmm.
Like,
Right. So if you're
and
listening along,
became
make sure you go.
caricatures. Oh, go ahead.
I was say if you're listening along, make sure you go and listen to "Achy Breaky Heart" before you do anything else. Go ahead. We'll wait. Just pause it. We'll wait.
All right. All right. Welcome back. So
Yep.
now that you've heard that atrocity, that horrible, horrible song, I'm gonna kind of finish off explaining the Miley Cyrus and Bob Dylan take. Miley Cyrus is the one that cast the shadow. Unlike Jacob Dylan, who's who the hell is Jacob Dylan? Like, you wouldn't know if Miley Cyrus didn't currently exist right now. Uh, like, Billy Ray Cyrus fades with
Would it be
time,
forgotten? He'd be forgotten.
completely, utterly forgotten.
Yep.
As a that one '90s blah song, '90s country song, and then just that inexplicably top charts because it was just, I guess old people really liked playing it at weddings. I don't know why. Even at the time, I'm like,
I was at some weddings and there was old people and they played it. I
yeah,
can
and
confirm.
then yep, yeah, I don't know, and like I can't even. There are songs that are terrible and I can listen to them for the novelty of it. I can't do that with this song. It is objectively a bad song. It's made to be line danced to. It's
Yep.
the worst thing. So now that you've listened to it and found out it's the worst thing, we have Miley. And
Yes.
Miley, I'll let you go ahead and kind of.
No, so obviously she does Hannah Montana. Her dad is in it. It's a TV show for Disney. They make her sing stuff. Whatever. Moving on. We'll get back to the one song for Mr. Meph later.
So
from that time period.
The Hannah Montana, and this is from my own research because again, pop music comes to me, and I didn't find Miley Cyrus until like later on. I had no idea the Hannah Montana. I'm not the demographic for Hannah Montana. I'm older. Like I wasn't watching. I don't watch the Disney Channel. Molly is mad at me because she wanted to watch Hannah Montana to prepare me for this, and I didn't know. But here we are. So Hannah Montana, just real quick, ran 2006 to 2011 with like a couple movies kind of sort of drip feeding out in the tail end. She actually transitions to being Miley Cyrus part of the way while Hannah Montana is still exists.
So it's about being a pop star, but like with a false identity. Hannah Montana is the false identity. So it's like there is like a story. I didn't watch it either, but like reading a quick Wikipedia page, you kind of like, okay, there's a nice little play on things here. But in 2007, Miley did Breakout, which is her first true Miley Cyrus album.
Now Wikipedia cites it as 2008, but Spotify
I'm going off of what Spotify.
Spotify says
all my
2007.
Dates, all my dates are Spotify because that's where I listen to it. So, I guess I'll do the overall bit of it.
Just a real quick, Miley Cyrus is actually born, Destiny Hope Cyrus. She legally changed her name in 2008 to Miley Ray. Good homage to her dad, Cyrus. So like she officially became Miley Cyrus, and the joke goes that her dad used to call her Smiley, and then like that got abbreviated to Miley, and so her nickname was always Miley.
Okay, I did not know that. Nice little trivia. Yep.
That's why I'm here.
All right, she does some music. Listen to a few things. Cool. We'll see you guys later, right? That's all we needed?
Yeah, you got some trivia? Peace out.
Yeah. Cool. So my overall feeling on Breakout, and like I said, and just for everyone listening at home, if you're not looking at my notes, I listened to every single song in every one of these albums, whether I liked it or not. Didn't hate my life doing it. And I put little notes on each and every song. And then I did a little overall. So
I like that this was like this was academia.
And this is order of the song on an album, because I'm used to whenever an artist puts on an album and chooses the order of their songs, they're doing the order of the songs for a reason.
This is a lost art for me. But yeah, go on.
Okay. So overall, I think this album definitely shows off her ability to exist within the pop music sphere, but there's a lack of narrative in this album, and it feels safe. And being her first album, I think it's a lot of the fact that probably, she wasn't writing anything for herself.
Probably not.
So it's like whatever was catchy and like her not being like a big star at the time outside of like that small little Hannah Montana circle, which I don't know how big that was exactly, but like she
It
probably
was
wasn't
it
getting the
was
best.
note it was notable. Like it was notable. Like
Right.
that's
Okay.
why this worked. For my take. Like
Okay.
they to make
But I
the
doubt
trend.
she.
Go ahead.
I doubt she was going to be getting the best songs available to a pop singer based upon the writers at the time.
Right. Right. So it's
She was going to
important.
get like the B tier.
It's important to note, like what you say there is like super important. If you understand like pop music, you have like pop musicians. Like there's essentially producers, record labels, and like songwriters that write the songs, and they pair the song to the pop musician under their label that they think will work for it.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck's his name? Sheeran? Ed Sheeran?
Ed Sheeran,
The song that was the song of the year for that year that he had.
Castle on the Hill.
No, it's the clubby one, but it's not a clubby one anymore. Oh my gosh,
My
what?
favorite, of his is the he did an old redid an old Irish song, Galloway Girl. He did it in like a modern take. That was my favorite song of his.
Club ain't the blessed place to blah 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 blah. Like beep, beep, like
Oh yeah. Okay.
sh-
Yeah, it's
is it
like
Love with the Shape of You, right?
yeah,
Shape of You was a song that he had written, and it was originally supposed to go to like whoever the hot couple at the time was, like I don't know, like Ja Rule and
yeah,
like Beyonce or something like that, whatever it was. But the record label saw that like hip hop was on a downtick, and that like white guys with the guitar because John Mayer was on an uptick. So it said, Ed Sheeran, why don't you play the song instead? Like, so you get to keep your own song and play it. And skyrockets to stardom. Like the pop industry, pop music, I can see how people get jaded. And it actually reminds me an awful lot of like the pro wrestling circuit. Like especially on the WWE side of things where like you develop gimmicks and stuff, but if Vince doesn't like your gimmick, he either says no, go back to the drawing board, or if he likes your gimmick but he doesn't like you with it, he'll give your gimmick to somebody else. Like or like he'll give you a gimmick that thinks will work, and that's why we get some of the
right,
really bad gimmicks of the 90s especially.
right. But if you look at the people that, like I said, that's another reason why I like Taylor Swift. She just writes her own stuff, so it's like it's always her. Whereas like listening to a lot of other pop stars, you can sometimes hear when they're singing this because they have to.
Right, right. And Britney Spears is
Uh,
the what like the greatest victim of this. I
oh
think
yeah,
in modern
oh yeah.
memory. In modern memory. Like
What would she be? I mean, 90s. I don't know. Like I mean, obviously like there's Madonna before her and all that, but like
but
I
Madonna
don't know.
didn't quite
Britney's
fall into that trap. Madonna maintained a lot of clout throughout her career, which is where Madonna's a little bit different from some of the modern pop stars. In the early 80s you had the very disco-y Madonna, but very
yeah,
specifically she dissented with the producer on the tail end of like sort of her debut album, and she was able to kind of like I don't know how she managed to throw her weight around to like get a different producer and be able to like she hated the final cut of the album. She hated it. They kind of went back and like redid it, and
right,
she even though she was a relative like unknown because her singles had tapped that market that the record label wanted, which was that like take disco music and get the mall kids. Take
right,
take disco music to the mall kids. She had them, and they're like, okay, we kind of got to listen to her because without Madonna, this doesn't work. Because this puzzle, we can't solve this without
right.
her. So she,
Well,
but yeah,
yeah. So like back to the album Breakout. So like the first song is self-titled. You know, is the titled track Breakout. It's not the best title song I've ever heard. It's a song. It wasn't bad. It's not what I'm gonna remember this album for
so the
entirely.
like you said, this is very much Breakout is. I mean, she's getting the B tier, C tier tunes. You know,
Hmm.
Ed Sheeran's good songs are going to somebody else, and like she's getting like
Yep.
his like one that he left on his coffee table. Now, what's
Is
interesting
it
about
right?
this is, go ahead.
No, go after you.
What's interesting about this is like sometimes the producers are way wrong and the record labels are way wrong, and the best
Hmm.
songs are the ones that like the writer is saving for themselves, or like the
You
one that gets rejected twice.
you mean the rich people making the Sonic movie originally didn't know we wanted a Sonic that didn't look like hot garbage?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Perfect example. Look at Hollywood. That trash fire. That's Hollywood.
Oh, but
Um,
music predates it and is trashier. That's why we can't play these on Twitch right now for you. Because I will get sued. Rather, Twitch will get sued.
yes. Twitch will get sued. Anyway, moving on. So there's next couple songs, Seven Things, Driveway. Yeah, so they're good. They're pretty classic pop. They're pretty safe. Like I said, it's gonna be the theme of this album. And then we get to Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which is when I wake up on this album. Because the one thing Miley Cyrus always, always, always does is cover a song and fucking crush it.
I like the
Every single time. Yeah, every cover from that I've listened to, she takes it and she's like, "I'm gonna put myself in this, and it's better." That's all I can say.
I don't want to give away like one of the big teases at the end, but this is true. I haven't found a bad Miley Cyrus cover. I haven't found a bad one, and there was one where my eyes like lit up, and I'm like, you have received the torch, like like type moment.
Yeah.
In the way like purple haze for
I think I know which.
Yeah,
I think I know which one you're talking about too. Yeah.
Yeah, in the way that like purple haze, or all along the watchtowers. I'm sorry for Hendrix, and like this is Dylan, I believe, to bring it back. Like this is a Dylan tune. Like Hendrix has arrived because you don't know it's a Dylan song unless you look into it, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
So
and like I said, so that Girls Just Want to Have Fun, her cover. That's when I wake up on this album. That's when I'm just like, all right, we're going. And then obviously continues. There's another song, Full Circle, completely hittable. I cannot remember the beat of it. Granted, I listened to it a while ago at this point, but like, doesn't stick with me. And then we get into what I think is probably the strongest song on here that's not a cover, which is Fly on the Wall. I consider this one for her a banger. I would love to see her redo it now. I would love to see her redo it now.
So this is a song I listened to because I wasn't going to put in all the work that you did. This is the one I listened to, and my note here is kind of slaps. Like, but upon sort of discussing with you now, this song has like a theme about like paparazzi and stuff. I think I didn't look up the credits on who wrote this one, but it's possible that this is Miley, or at least Miley talking with the producer to get a song in there about how she feels, because this album comes out 2007. She's still Hannah Montana at this point. And this song is all about like essentially the paparazzi being in her business, wanting to be a fly on the wall and so on and so forth. I'm like, this song is the personal one off this album. It is my read, which is why it's the best album off this, or the best song off this album.
Right. I think if it had a better title, it could have been the title track.
That makes sense.
And it should have been. But is what it is. Continuing on, there's Bottom of the Ocean. It's all right. It's a little catchy. Wake Up America, also catchy. You're not going to really remember it. These Four Walls, it was the next one that really like hit me. It gives you some good feels.
Okay.
Pretty classic high school feels, I guess you could say. Like if you want to throw yourself back to there.
All right.
That's followed up by a Simple Song, which I really like. The whole time listening to this, it's like whenever you have a friend and you see potential in them and they just aren't quite clicking yet to get where you know they belong. Yeah. That's what this song is to me. It's full of potential. There's so many times where I'm just like, no. It's like it wants to, and it could be reworked, but like we're still on the B tier for most of these songs, to be honest.
Right.
Then there's a song called Goodbye. Not the best on the album. Probably one of the worst on the album as far as the songs go for me. And then there's See You Again, which obviously is fantastic. Like I said, it's...
Is this based off of a Babyface's tune?
I don't know. It's
see you again. That one?
No,
right.
Maybe. Like I said, there's moments where I'm like, did someone else write this? Did I hear this before? Like I said, and this one also competes for being best album on the track. This is, if Miley did no other songs, this one probably would have ended up as her one-hit wonder. If she did nothing else, if everything else flopped and she just disappeared, this would be a one-hit wonder type song. It's actually one I don't want to see her redo again because I like the way she sang it originally, which is like that classic teenage pop style.
Okay.
I linked it to you in our call chat if you want to share it out specifically.
Yeah, yeah. So, Soren here would like to remind everyone for 1,000 RDP that Chat Gang ain't none to fuck with, which is, of course, reference to my favorite rap group, which is Wu-Tang Clan. Uh, Second favorite being Run the Jewels. And my favorite hip hop group, if you didn't know and you wanted to follow along up until now, because rap and hip hop are different, is Outkast.
So yeah, breakout. See you again. Fly on the wall.
Bombs Over
And
Baghdad. I'm sorry, Bombs Over Baghdad. You
oh,
can
okay, all
pause it
right.
again. You
Get
can
it out.
pause it again.
Get it out.
Go listen to
Get it
Bombs
out.
Over Baghdad right now. And if you are
We'll
not a
wait.
believer in hip hop after that tune, like just like unlike unsubscribe to everything. That song's amazing and poignant to the politics of the time. Amazing. Sorry.
No one's gonna disagree with you on this call, and I can't see chat gang. So if they're disagreeing, I can't. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm immune to you, chat gang. You can't touch me right here.
So yeah, we'll see you again. Yep.
See you again. Fly on the wall, and uh, girls just want to have fun.
So
Those are gonna be the three things I remember from this album.
So that's kind of like you've got your notes here. I'm kind of reading through them, and if you're in checking, you can see them. I'm getting that you see a couple sparks of potential, but ultimately forgettable.
Yeah.
And we don't know about her cover powers just yet. You go, hey, that's a song I like, and she covered it admirably. She did well. I didn't hate it. This is like I've had mixed feelings about the cover of Landslide by the Dixie Chicks. I'm just like, but I heard them do it live and I loved it. I just hated the studio
Yeah.
version. The studio
Oh,
version.
actually,
Go ahead.
let me insert this too. Miley is a great live artist
Yes.
because she's bold. She knows her stuff, and whenever she's live, she's gonna do it. She's gonna take it somewhere else. She's not just gonna sing what she sings. She's gonna change it and adapt it and make you feel best. Like she's a great live artist.
Well, Lady Gaga's in the same category. Like this is the difference between a singer or a musician and a performer.
Yeah.
I think Miley Cyrus is a performer to the T. In fact, like I'd say she's a better performer probably at this stage than she is a musician. And I think
Yeah, that's fair. I
that's
think it's
my
fair.
read. That's my read at this point.
Hmm. So, are you ready to move on to the next album? Or do you got
Yeah.
some more
No,
notes on
no.
Breakout?
Your just overall thoughts. You say shows off her ability to exist
Hmm.
in the pop music sphere, but the album does lack a narrative and overall feels safe. And that's what pop music is going to be, especially if you're getting
Right.
the B hits. They're trying to, at this point, the studios are trying to parlay her from a Disney commodity because Disney stars age out. Like Disney
Yeah.
stars don't stay Disney stars. They,
That's why
uh,
there's so many CGI Disney things now, because Frozen is forever
yeah,
because they don't have to age them.
yeah, yeah. Disney stars age out, and so they're trying to parlay her into music because pop stardom at this point in time, Madonna again. For me, Miley Cyrus is the modern Madonna, like, or rather, her. I think she's now gone beyond her just being the new Madonna thing because there's a lot of artists that I'm going to compare to. A lot of artists I would compare to Madonna. Cardi B, I would compare to Madonna actually. Like as these sort of studio proteges that get enough clout somehow to push back against norms and subvert popular culture. Like that is
There's
awesome.
very much times, yeah. There's very much times too, like with music. I find it like sometimes you have to separate the art from the artist to appreciate what they do. Like I do that with Lady Gaga. Like well, I don't really like much of her new stuff anymore. I've kind of like, but like her as a person, I've grown sour with based upon like things she's done and like choices she's made and like that sort. I won't get into that, but like her music's still good. Whereas like Miley and like Taylor Swift, I like the whole package. I like the artist and the art.
Well, like man,
Uh,
I'm gonna bring it back to the rock sensibilities. Marilyn Manson. This is a
oh yeah,
performer, not a musician. Like you have to understand like. Someone who's more the performer and musician would actually be Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails. Like, Trent Reznor is Nine Inch Nails. Like, he just has a bunch of other guests in that duo, blah, blah, blah. But Nine Inch Nails is the performance. Trent Reznor is the musician. He actually held a Guinness Book World Record once upon a time for number of instruments played proficiently to, like, the level Guinness Book cared about. Like,
Oh, jeez.
yeah. Yeah, like...
It's
like,
awesome.
Like, Trent Reznor, like... But, like, he wasn't... He had the performance, which is Nine Inch Nails, like, the... You know, that's the image of, like, sort of kinder-goth or pseudo-goth that I channeled younger. Is like, I love Nin, and the Adore album from the Smashing Pumpkins came out, and I'm like, I'm a goth now. Like, you know, like, I always like capes.
Suicidal Tendencies came out, you're like, okay.
I like capes and swords and vampires, like, and the color black is the best color. Like, I'm a goth now.
If we're gonna be giving shout outs to just like artists throughout, let's make sure we get this out of the way now. To the biggest contribution to society in the probably near future is from ICP, Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, culturally speaking, I am floored.
Listen,
2020 keeps blowing my mind.
Like, okay, they gave us the Juggalo makeup, which is proven to be a facial recognition software breaker. If you wear Juggalo makeup, it cannot recognize the face of you or that's behind it. So I'm giving them credit for the future whenever we see people walk around in Juggalo makeup to get past all the facial recognition
yeah,
technology.
when it's Minority Report. Yeah, when it's like just Minority Report, and they're like, hello.
I mean,
and they like scan your face to like give you the advertisement.
So, like I said, I'm going to give that credit out early. Yeah. I know it's not here yet, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. No, but I think that this is. I wanted to like hammer on this like performer versus musician because I think at this point she's still a performer. She's a performer being handed music and performing the songs. Now, I am not devaluing performers. That's why I had to bring up Marilyn Manson, because that like music snob in me, where songs need to mean something, they need to be technically proficient, they need to have organic instruments. That snob side of me that I still possess. It's just diminished significantly now. Used to discredit a lot of sort of performance music until, you know, Marilyn Manson, when I'm like, as soon as I found out Marilyn Manson did it just to sell albums, because he said, your parents will hate me, and that's going to sell my albums. And I just went, yep. For the pop trajectory, this looks a little bit different. Alice Cooper did it before Manson. Kiss did it before Cooper. Like, this is not a new concept. The idea of like performance to do the thing. And face it, you have live musicians and then you have studio musicians. And right now, I think we're getting a lot more of the studio side of Miley.
To the point, well, shoot, what was I going to say? She's put into the game, this music industry game right now, but she gets away from it.
Right.
Which is what makes you a lasting artist. Like everyone goes through it, like Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, they all go through it. Do you get away from it or not? Well, that's what's going to make you memorable or not.
Well, Pink is like has a weird inverted trajectory of this.
Yeah.
Because she was inserted to be counterculture, but the popular counterculture, so she was allowed to be like racier and, you know, like unpolished, as like to corner that market of popular music that wanted the unpolished. That's why she's struggling, I feel like, in the tail end of her career, because she started out as like the counterculture. And Britney Spears, which is, I mean, you got to talk about Britney. Britney Spears was the icon, the popular model that just 10 out of 10, everything studios wanted. But she could not do what Miley has done, which is break out of that mold. She tried. Right. Britney tried very hard. And speaking of people that you love, I was just gonna say, speaking of people that like I love now, Britney Spears is amazing. Follow her on Instagram.
Oh wait, did you see when she almost burned down her house?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like I don't.
She's just like working out in the gym and she almost burns down her house.
I'm like I don't know if it's performance art at this point. Like I think she's gone full Andy Kaufman. Like she's a little bit crazy. And she just knows it, and she's leaned into it because she can't break out because her family's grips are still too strong, and the industry grip is still too strong. So she's just like, what if I just go into the performance art side of it and try to burn down my gym lifting weights?
Yep.
Like, amazing.
But all right, we'll get back on track here.
Yeah, right,
Time of
right.
Our
So,
Lives, 2008, second album by Miley.
all right.
Overall, this is a much shorter album, I saw the phrase called extended play. I have no idea what that means.
Mm.
Um, it to me, this is her beginning to start to be able to experiment with genres and to develop her own style. Like, what does she want to be? Like, she obviously wants to be in pop, but she also wants to do a little bit of her dad's country. She wants to, try some other things out. It's still on the safer side, but I think this is more of like her first album was a success. They said, okay, and instead of telling her what she's going to sing for this one, they gave her like a bunch of things so she could kind of pick and play with it a little bit. That's what this felt like.
Extended play is an EP, by the way. Like this is that's the full form of EP. So basically,
Okay.
it's not quite a single, but it's not quite an LP yet.
Yeah, like I said, I think this was like a 45-minute album, so I was like, oh, it's over. Okay.
Yeah.
It starts out with a song called "Kicking and Screaming." Definitely a hot start, I think, for an album. Maybe a little too hot. Maybe this should have been like the second or third, but it's a heavier rock influence for her style music from her last album, which was just pure pop. And then we're gonna. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you got to keep in mind she's got the country roots at this point. Country
Yes.
is essentially like weird rock, right? Like it's rock that kind of stopped evolving. Like if I'm being mean to country, that's how I would characterize country. Because there's a lot of great country music early, but like what is country right now? Like it doesn't have its own identity anymore. You sing with a twang.
Country.
You sing with a twang, like ooh, like that's your defining feature. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
Like
Which it works as an insert into other genres really well.
yes, it does. Or when you're doing for effect, and this isn't in the chronology where I start to notice. Actually, no, this is where because so I listened to Fly on the Wall on the last album, and then I listened to Liberty Walk off of this one, and my note here is voice maturing. So this is where I think Miley is really growing into her voice because she
Just can't be tamed. We're on Time of Our Lives. You're an album ahead.
Oh, I'm an album ahead. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, I'll let you continue talking about this because
the next point you're not going to disagree with me on. So the second song on this album is "Party in the USA." And my note on this is, if you don't crank it to 11 whenever it is on, then you are wrong. Please unfollow me and never talk to me or my family again.
this is pop music at peak fun.
Yes.
This is. I think what's going on in Time of Our Lives is I think she's reconciling the country half with the pop half. I think that's what's going on here. I think she's reconciling because country is allowed to be rockier but still popular because it doesn't get like face melty. It doesn't double bass on you. It doesn't get like racier lyrics. It's like country is safe rock, right? Like so you get some of that like guitar solo from country music because they still solo the guitar. I think this is reconciling the pop music with the country. I think that's what this album is doing.
I can see that. Like I said, I think it's her starting to try and figure out what she wants her voice to be. But I can see your point too. Like she does have two backgrounds, her background and her dad's, and both are to good effect. But yes, "Party in USA." Listen to it always, every time,
so
nonstop.
Fantastic.
Next song on the list, this is like
I
where,
have
like,
my own dance for "Party in the USA." Molly tries to catch it on Snapchat every time I do it. Like every time. And
well then,
like, when the song comes on, I go into my own dance. I have my own dance for "Party in the USA."
The next time we can have events and be together, I'm gonna put it on and I'm gonna film it on Instagram.
You're
and
a monster.
Get it.
You're a monster.
I am. So this is, and maybe this is because like this is an extended play or like just a short album because like you can't really like go with the flow. You're gonna hit like some hard edges. So the next song is "When I Look at You," which has a nice haunting feel, but is very close to a high school dance song, which is really odd after you come off of the other two songs.
Okay.
You continue on "Time of Our Lives." It's the title. Once again, it's not a good, I think, choice for the title of the album because it's not a great title track. It's okay. It's an okay song. Song after that, "Talk Is Cheap." It's not something I'm going to remember. Song after that is "Obsessed." It's not bad. Like I said, there's another one's like it could be better. Maybe there's a potential in it, but is what it is. "Before the Storm." After that, pretty basic. It's a little interesting, but it's pretty basic, and that's the album.
Mm-hmm.
So really, this album is "Party in the USA," That's it. That's all you need to listen off this one.
My creative writing professor in college said one of the best lines I've ever heard, and it's one of those things that you take into your personal like lexicon of motivation. He said, and I still remember the line. It was she smiles as she tells us the stars in their gaze. Was the line in my one poem, and because I had written this like whole narrative poem, and he said, if you wrote a whole bad poem just to get that line, because it was a bad I got slammed for how bad the poem was. I tried to do alliteration with terms that don't work, like vacant soliloquy, and saying the word soliloquy in a poem that's supposed to be spoken aloud is bad. So it's like, yeah, I know.
That's right. This is something different. I'm going to pull it out after you're done. This has nothing to do with anything, really.
Right, fine. Keep a pin in it because I don't want you to lose this one. But it was but he said if you wrote that whole poem and you got that one line, then it was worth it. And so like for me that's Party in the USA. If you wrote this whole EP and all you got was Party in the USA, worth. I feel this way about movies too, where like if there's just that one amazing scene where it's like I can't Supernatural jumps immediately to mind because it's kind of forgettable. But the scene where Death in I think it's season 4 goes and eats pizza, you could write a 10 episode series, and if you got that scene, worth, because other shows are middling for 6 seasons and get nothing close to that great. And that's how I feel about Party in the USA on that legit song. All right, your point. What's your point?
This isn't a point. This is just something you said brought back a memory. And since we talked some high school music that's popping on here, I'm going to uncork this real quick. 8th grade. 5th grade. I wrote a little short story for one of my English classes, and this bitch of a teacher. I ended it with, and all he knew after that was darkness, because I wanted a character to die at the end. I mean, meanwhile, like, I'm in 5th grade writing this, all right?
Brutal.
The teacher, I don't know, like, it was about war, like, that was the subject. Like, we were kind of given, like, random subjects, and mine was war, so that's what it was. So I ended it on, and all he knew was darkness. And the teacher said that's not a satisfying ending. And I've read so many Black Library books now that's nonstop being used in there. That teacher's a bitch. Fuck that teacher. Sorry. That just came. That like was dragged out on me from somewhere. I need to get that out.
No, this is the rabbit hole within the rabbit hole. I have on the internet, as Mr. Mephisto criticized some stories, and people will be like, "You just want happy endings." And then I do the condescending thing where I'm just like, oh, child, like, you've never read my stories. All of my stories tend to end with all they knew were darkness. Like, why don't you like that ending? I'm like, because you didn't earn it. Like, see, and that's my criticism of like the stories and the movies that end with just like killing everything. And I'm like, Game of Thrones. You just don't like Game of Thrones because they kill too many characters. I'm like, no, they don't earn the deaths. Like, and when they do. Go ahead.
I'm wondering now, because since she did that to me, because I like happy endings. I do like happy endings. That's my preference. Maybe that was the trigger point. Maybe this is what's happening.
Like you're
here.
defiant to her your whole life now, and you don't.
It's like realize. I'm going to be happy forever, you old hag. I've already outlived you. I know this.
Yeah. No, my see, I don't know. Like I like endings that make you feel lonely. I don't know how to characterize it beyond.
There's another turning point. Did you ever watch Radio Flyer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where they take the wagon and they turn it into a frickin' spaceship, basically. Right?
Yeah, I watched that. I cried, and I never wanted to watch anything unhappy again after that too. So that's probably another trigger point. I hated. And then after that, I watched The Giver. Did you ever read The Giver? Did you ever read The Giver?
Yeah.
What a piece of shit book. What a piece of shit book. That ending, they fucking died. Fuck that. That piece of shit book.
I'm going to blow your mind. I know that your favorite Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy VIII.
Squall dies at the end?
Squall dies at the end.
No, he doesn't.
Squall's dead.
No, he doesn't. He's dead.
Look at the camera. The camera completely changes perspectives.
Now, do you see him?
You don't see
you see him. Do you see him? Are you saying, like, are you from, like, he dies when the icicle shards go through him?
No, he dies because he doesn't remember the place to go, like everybody else. He gets lost in timey-wimey time space,
Okay,
and just
I was because
and
like I heard people like debate where he dies.
mm,
Is it at the truly end, or does he die when the icicles go through his chest and it's all like a memory, or all
no,
just like a flash at the end?
no,
Okay, I was curious where your point was on that.
no. They're supposed to remember that the one place to go back to, and he
Yeah,
completely does not. Which is actually kind of starts the trend of Final Fantasies where the main character dies at the end, because Final Fantasy X essentially kills off Titus as well, or Titus.
15 does it as well.
15 does it, yeah. Like
Hey, spoilers, people.
it's been like 10 years, get over it, or 20 in some cases. No,
Yeah,
Squall is dead. It's not a happy ending. It's a
hmm
bittersweet ending because
it's bittersweet. Yeah,
because they record the video for him in hope that he'll come back one day or whatever, that he'll find his way back. Because they catalog they do the videotape of the graduation ceremony, and he's not ever in the graduation ceremony. He is not the one holding the camera because the camera gets passed to Zell because Zell does the thing. Like
yeah.
like he's not there.
It's self filming.
Yeah, yeah. It's an in memoriam. Or you could read it as he's actually there because she then on the balcony looks up and she looks off to the side.
It depends if you believe in the power of love or not. I do, so he's there.
No, my favorite endings make you feel lonely, and that ending makes me feel lonely, and the end of Cowboy Bebop makes me feel lonely, and the end of
I I will say that see, but here's the thing. I don't mind Cowboy Bebop's ending because, as you said, it earned it.
yes. Also,
So
they
like, I'm
don't
okay.
show the
Yeah,
scene where Faye comes running in and Spike lives because he's just been stabbed. He's fine. He got blown up way earlier in the series. No way he's dead that time.
I love it.
uh,
So 2010, Can't Be Tamed,
good.
Miley's third album, and overall, this is a solid album, and it's a great step for Miley into having her own style. It does feel a little bit of a front heavy on the album as far as like the bangers. Um, but yeah, like I think this is definitely her putting her foot forward and doing what Miley wants to do.
So, my read on "Can't Be Tamed" and the Liberty Walk.
hmm Which is the first song.
This is where I felt like her voice was maturing. Um, I still have a very cynical pop view. Or I still have a very cynical view of pop music at this point. Whereas the previous one was reconciling the country. What was trending at this point is it was trendy to be hip hoppy with your pop stars now. At this point in music. So this is where
I guess I'm glad you're here because I'm not looking at this album outside of itself. I'm not looking at the themes and what's going on in the time in the music industry. I'm looking at just the narrative of Miley's songs from one album to the next. So
I
just for people listening, like I'm gonna have a different view than you sometimes because you're looking at a much broader picture.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the thing is you got the zoomed in view and I've got the zoomed out view and the trying to connect that. That's the homework I did.
hmm
You did all the listening. Um, but this is where like I think it's like really catchy and like the hip hop and dance aspects of it really start to show up. I think that's where this is because and we're still riding the dance music high actually like as 2010
Right.
into 20. That's what we're still on right now. This is
Yeah,
where that really
Cascada,
uh,
Dota.
Panic at the Disco. You were talking
Yeah.
about them earlier. Panic at
Oh
the
yeah.
Disco is like still
Yep.
in like in dance rock basically territory right now. Like we're very much into like
hmm
sort of like the dancey era of pop music. I think that's what would be the
Right.
big of the after the teens and into the 20. And so we're probably going to have like a new resurgence of something in coming up in the next couple of years because music always moves in cycles. But right now we're very firmly in the like it's got to be dancey. Um,
Right. So Liberty Walk, like I think we're both very much agreeing. This is her starting to become who she wants to be.
mhm. Yeah.
And then next, yeah, okay, next song, "Who Owns My Heart." Like I said, once again, it's a very '90s pop dance vibe, which fits the theme. It has a great hook. It's not, like I said, it's not one of the best songs, but yeah, it's not a bad one. Followed up by "Can't Be Tamed." And this is the first time for her albums that I think the album title song
The
works.
The title track's actually good.
Yep, the song's good. The title's good. It fits who she's trying to like kind of emphasize within herself right now. So it's boom. This hits for me. So I was happy with that.
Another interesting thing that's going on right now while this album's coming out. So 2011 is when Hannah Montana is done. So the movie, I think, because as I recall, she did the TV show and then she had like a couple Hannah Montana movies she had to do, contractually obligated to do. This comes out in 2010. She is officially no longer Hannah Montana as of 2011. Like she really, any pretenses about staying Hannah Montana are dead with this album. She doesn't have to continue because the way like the pipeline of production and yada yada works. She is already transitioning to not be Hannah Montana at this point. I think this is
right.
I think that's a big signifier of what's going on here. And again, that's where I think my big read was her voice. This is where her voice moved away from like sort of safe poppy, like lilting, hit the high notes and do the thing. Like you just pick someone off. Like the number of people I have met in my life that are fantastic singers, but they just don't like have the it factor, or they just don't get the dice in their favor when they go out to try to make it. Carrie Underwood's actually like kind of a fantastic, I think, a character study for this because she could not make it out of the frying pan as a pop star. She had to go country first and then transition. Tay-Tay had already kind of ruined that path. She was already in the process of ruining that path for an artist, So here I think she's really... I'm saying it differently, but I'm agreeing with you. This is where she's coming into her own. But I wanted to fill in those sort of like other external factors for this.
Right. Next up on the album.
Imagine if I did this for a battle tome.
Why? Who cares? Who cares?
I'm like, nerd. I won't review battle tomes in depth because you're going to listen to the competitive battle tome person that you like the most. And
you can't just flip to the back with a discography, all right? You gotta go through it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You can't just flip to the points.
There's no points. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just flip to the points. All right.
So after Can't Be Tamed, we get Every Rose Has Its Thorn, which boom, Miley knocking it out of the park with another cover.
Right.
It's like, thank goodness, keep it up. Forgiveness and Love. I called it a ballad. I'm not sure if I'm right on that term, but it felt like a ballad. I was not expecting it from Miley. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. So is this where Miley's this album is where Miley maybe wins you over?
I would say as an album, it wins me over. She's won me over with songs before. Like I'm like, okay, I like your covers. I like Party in USA. I like like that. This is like where I'm like, this album, you can put together a whole album. There's always gonna be misses. There's always gonna be misses on albums.
Every album's got that. Yeah, the one you skip. The one, like, I love this album, but I always skip this one song. I mean, the Smashing Pumpkins, the reason I love them more, it was the band whose albums I listened to the most, but I didn't have to skip songs.
That's Taylor Swift for me, so yep, I get you.
Yeah.
Next up on this album, Permanent December. Like I said, this is kind of like back to like the couple other songs I had. I like this one, but I wanted more from it. Okay. Is the only thing, like my thoughts on it. Then there's a song called Stay. It's all right. Followed by Scars. Felt restrained.
When you say restrained, what do you mean?
I felt like this was the classic B tier was given to her. Like she's like, I need another song for this album. They're just like, here, sing this. No one wants to. It's like, but not. I don't want to call it safe. It's restrained. It's just it's there because they needed 2 to 3 minutes of filler.
Okay.
Followed by Take Me Along. It's an okay song. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it. Robot. It's a solid song. Driving beat. The lyrics, I was like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me here as a story, but just stop.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't interested in like you could understand the lyrics enough to hear the story, but I was like, I don't really care what's going on in the song. But it's a solid driving beat. My Heart Beats for Love. Actually, the notes got deleted on that. Like I said, it's another alright song. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. Yeah, like I said, this album definitely takes her towards
putting together a full album. I mean, it's not her The Wall yet, right? Like where every track in Pink Floyd's The Wall is meticulously crafted and blends into the next song the whole time, and it tells the entire story about building the wall and then trying to tear down the wall, and it ends in hell. It's not quite there. We're not there yet. It's not full concept album. We've
had a few songs. This is an album. Like I like to listen to a few of these songs again, and you can put the album back on. But it's not like you finish it and go, I need this again in my life, but I need to prepare. This needs to be a religious thing.
Yeah. All right. So now we.
uh,
Oh, go ahead.
no, after you.
So now we get to Bangers 2013, and I think this is super aptly named
Mm.
because this is in my retrospective because I didn't experience Miley from a pop music ever being a thing. Pop music is I don't like consider pop music really a true genre even anymore. It's like there are artists that try to be popular with trends and the industry and so on and so forth, and like then you're in pop music and like I said, this is where pop music comes to me. If I like it, it'll come to me. I'm trying to like kind of trace back in origins of like I just listened to this artist on this song and they said that their influence was this obscure artist I've never heard of before. I'm gonna go back and listen to them now and like do I like right? That's how I found Woody Guthrie. I found out that like most of the punk musicians I love listen to Woody Guthrie. It wasn't through country. Like oh wait, like all these like punk musicians are like talking about Woody Guthrie. Well, now I need to go back and listen to this guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Like that's how I experience music. Is like I take recommendations from friends. I love when friends tell me to listen to good music. I'm like, oh hell yeah. Pseudonym on Twitter has just kind of been 10 for 10 in like recommending great music for me to go obscure music for me to go listen to because he's French and he knows all these like really awesome like sort of like Euro bands. I'm like, oh hell yeah, like give it to me. I love music, and I think that's the difference between me. I'm getting introspective. I'm so sorry. The difference between me now and me as a teen, because music was my identity, and I wanted to maintain a good identity, but I didn't love music yet. I liked music. I liked it as a, I could analyze music. I'd talk about the stuff, but I didn't love it yet. I didn't, like, truly love music as an expressive art form. Because if you love art, you don't get mad at one color and never look at a painting with that color in it. You know,
Right.
my least favorite color is yellow. This is real. This is me meaning, but I'm not gonna like not look at a painting because there's yellow in it. You know, like they used yellow because they needed it in that awesome piece of art. And so I feel about
Right.
music now. Like when you're pulling in jazz and you're pulling in like hip hop and you're pulling in, like country or bluegrass. Like I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes because I love it. I appreciate it. I think this is where Bangers she's starting to pull in all the colors.
Absolutely, because the one thing about this album, if you listen to it, there is tons of collaborations. Like almost every song, I think. Like I said, this album has a kind of a slow start, strong finish, and like this is where like not just putting an album together, but she's putting together an album narrative. Like I'm starting to see like a story in the not necessarily with the titles and the lyrics, but just as far as the beats and the flow of the songs, I feel a narrative coming from this album.
So I just now realized this is also where Wrecking Ball shows up.
Yep.
And that makes 100% sense. Um, Wrecking Ball, of course. I want to like Wrecking Ball more than I like it. This is because the contrarian in me hates people who hate the song because it was the popular thing. I'm like that's a type of conformity is like if you just always will hate the popular thing, then you're just a conformist by a different name. Um, I love the intro though. It's such a strong intro, and then it gets
Yep.
poppy. And I'm like, I wish that I just had the intro and the outro and less of the pop hook. I'm like, I want a real song here, and like and pop interrupted me on like what is an otherwise great song. And
They
so like
pop hit you like a wrecking ball.
yeah, and then I'm like maybe it's meta. Like
I,
you had to be meta when
knowing where she goes, like with the next couple albums, maybe it was meta.
maybe it was meta, but this is also
Yeah.
her that Wrecking Ball's the statement single. Right? Like
Right.
that is the one. This is where she has achieved Madonna in my mind. She has gone full Madonna. This is Madonna's.
She's fully in the zeitgeist.
Yes, this is the 1990 for Madonna was where she achieved that. That's where like the Pope boycotts her. That's where she shows up with the cone bra like and like that's where she has a song. That's where she does what is it like a prayer
Mm-hmm.
with Leon Robinson as Saint Martin what is it de Porres de Perez who's
No, no.
essentially the
Mm.
patron saint of multiculturalism and racial harmony. Like, remember, like everyone's like, oh, that's the Black Jesus album, right? Like that's when Madonna does that. It's 1990, and it's like actually he was a saint. He wasn't supposed to be Jesus in that, but everyone was just like super pissed. Like Madonna's 1990 um, Blonde Ambition tour was where she was just like, bam, that was her knockout punch. Madonna is Madonna now. She had been working toward Madonna. She had Like a Virgin, which messed with people's understanding of, like she's marketed as this like mall musician. Now she's a sex icon. Like she had done it. But 1990 is where Madonna was Madonna. Like that is where she like cemented herself.
So you say like that's like Madonna that had their knockout. I don't think this is Miley's knockout yet. This is Miley here. She's throwing some good punches.
See, I feel like this is where Miley is now Miley. This is where
no,
for me.
I would say Miley is Miley, but this is not the strongest Miley we have. This is not her final form.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, no, that's totally fair because I think the album for me is like we're approaching the album for me that is like I think her best, 100%. And I'll go into all of the. Pardon me. I'll go into all of the like context of why I think it's the best album she's made still. But right here I'm like she just like pow, like I am Miley Cyrus.
Yep, this was an RKO out of nowhere, but they didn't get tapped. They didn't go stay down for the full 3. 1, 2, they got out.
They got that's where we're at. They kick out of the RKO out of nowhere. Okay, cool. All right, no, I like that. That's a good analogy.
So opens with "I Adore You," or not "Adore You," just "Adore You." Slow pace setting opener. Ultimately, kind of a forgettable song. And then it goes on to "We Can't Stop."
We can't stop.
Yep. It's solid song. I really wanted it to start picking up the pace.
Okay.
Really wanted that's just like the feel of what I wanted from that song.
That song feels it's a little too lilting and like meh. It's good. Yeah. It's catchy, but it's just like after like the kind of like the hook, I'm like, okay, you need to do something with this or end it. And it feels like I thought this song would have been on the album with Party in the USA, like from the
I can see that. That would fit. Yeah,
like it would have fit right on.
And
that
maybe it was a carryover. You never know.
Could have been. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Next up is SMS Bangers, which is the title track. I found the song a bit boring, but the best part about it was the collaboration with Britney Spears on it, because Britney Spears knocked it out of the park with her part.
This is the torch. This is the torch passing moment, because by this time Britney Spears is irrelevant in terms of like pop music.
She's doing like this is the same time she did what's it, Britney Bitch, I think.
Yeah, like.
It's like she's doing some things, but she's not doing Britney things.
Toxic was kind of, I think, her like Britney's like sort of last hurrah was like Toxic was right, like that was it.
Yeah.
And when you can continue? I'll look up when Toxic came out.
Okay, so after that, 4x4. It's a simple song. It's super catchy, and it's a nice collaboration with Nelly. I liked it. After that, there's a song called My Darling, and the only thing I could say about this is it's not a banger. I don't know. I finished the song. I'm like, this is not a banger. Done.
Yeah.
And then we already elaborated a lot on Wrecking Ball. It's the known song. It's very much going to be a classic forever.
I want more from it. Like
here's the thing too. Whenever you have a song you want more from, just go to YouTube, type in, like for this one, you type in Miley Cyrus, Wrecking Ball remix. That's how you get more out of songs like this. If you have it, to me, Wrecking Ball was fine. I still do like remixes on occasion, but if you get tired of a song or a song just doesn't quite hit, go see if there's a remix of it of someone who, quote unquote, fixes it
or loved it more. Well, and this, I think the main thing, I think part of this is like the style over substance. This is the style over substance.
Mm-hmm.
Like the substance is, it's enough to give me a taste. Again, that intro and the outro are fantastic. Like it's a good. Yep. It's just the rest of the song that's kind of like, okay, it's a pop song, but it's the music video that everyone fucking remembers. That outfit, the like came in like
outfit,
like the outfit like got everyone clutching their pearls, much like Cardi B's song has everyone clutching their pearls right now because she shows up in essentially the Mila Jovovich outfit from Fifth Element on a wrecking ball, and it's super like obvious sexual metaphor occurs, and then everyone's mad. on the internet, and it's like, but like for me, I'm like,
People mad on the internet?
yeah, but for me, this was the moment where I was like, Miley Cyrus, respect, like that was
Yeah.
like, so this is,
Unfor-
go
yeah.
ahead.
Good. Go. No. Go. Go.
No, like this is just like the respect moment, but this is where we get fu. I think I'm getting ahead of you a little bit,
Well,
but
you're getting a little bit ahead.
go
Yep.
go
Because
go through it, and then
ne-
when we get to fu, I want
yep.
to talk about it.
So after Wrecking Ball, we get a song called "Love Money Party." I feel like it was just forced in here for some reason. I feel it was
Because
forced out of her throat.
dancing is we're in the dance,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
firmly in the dance era of albums. Yeah.
Followed by hashtag Get It Right. Smooth beat. It's a bit of a shallow song, but it's a nice, easy listen. Then we have Drive. Really shows off Miley's persona and her strength of voice.
Okay.
I don't really remember much of the song other than like Miley really sings it well.
Okay.
Then we get to FU, which I'll let you.
Yeah. So fu is the one that you made me listen to, and fu is where, I mean, I ran out of
Missed my
notes.
big band. Whoops.
I ran out of notes here. I have like little sub notes and stuff like that. But this is where she collaborates with French Montana, no relation to Hannah Montana, rapper. It has a kind of a really clubby vibe to it, but it's got this like sort of cabaret jazz thing going on.
That's the word. Okay, because I typed in big band. I misspelled it, obviously, because I typed too quickly. Cabaret. That is perfect. That is the word I've been trying to find for this, because like it's exactly that, and they throw in a little bit of synth.
It's like this is peak, like taking, this is where I think the formula comes together for Miley's voice. She's not gonna blow you away with like an Adele like octave range, or like she is not the 6 octave range singer, but neither was Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks had like what, 3 maybe, like. But what you remember from Stevie Nicks was her like ability to like be emotive with her voice and be distinctly Stevie Nicks. When you walk away from a Stevie Nicks song, you go, that was Stevie Nicks. For me, this is where that like kind of raspy quality of Miley's voice, which she has in her speaking voice, she really brings it into a song, but then she gives it that musicality it needs to really like. This is when I talked about my retrospective, where she won me over in real time was with an album we haven't talked about yet. But when you made me kind of go back and listen to all this, this is where I'm like, oh, she's the shit. Like, I liked Party in the USA as like, I liked it. It's fun. Ha ha ha. I can get behind this. It's fun. But it could be there's a lot of one-hit wonder songs that she could have been a one-hit wonder. Like that's the only song I ever remember her by. Ha ha ha! It's funny. It's great. I have fun doing it. It comes out, and NSYNC is a lot like that. Like there's an NSYNC song. I'm just like, hell yeah. But like NSYNC is forgettable. Timberlake is freaking amazing, but NSYNC's forgettable.
Right.
Like that would have been Miley up until I heard FU. I'm like, okay. And it reminded me a lot of Christina Aguilera, they were trying to follow the prototypical Britney Spears thing. And she literally disappeared to South America to like go back to like this jazzy sort of lounge singer roots. And that's when she released the Back to Basics album, which had Candyman, which was like the radio popular one, obviously a popular cover. But that's also when she really embraced the fact that she was a great singer and that she didn't need to be a sex symbol. And so she just let her voice speak for herself. And that's where Christina Aguilera really comes out of her shells with Back to Basics. And then, we get Beautiful at some point. Beautiful's amazing. But like when she needed that that musicality that like Genie in a Bottle doesn't have, and for me, Miley Cyrus with FU has that like, this is where I see music appear. This is where she's been a performer. She's got some talent. She's got some skills. She's got like a good hand of cards dealt to her, with Disney and a dad who, his song is lame now, but he made tons of bank and he has tons of connections now, and he's using those. Yep. Like, he knows the industry. Yep. But when I hear FU, I'm like, this is where the musician side of Miley shows up for me.
Yep. Yeah, this is where she grabs hold of you and says, "This is who I am. You're going to accept this. I don't care what you think. Listen, and continuing on from there, Do My Thing. Once again, not as memorable as FU. I think this would have been better if it was paced out a song or two from FU, but it definitely continues the genre mixing to good effect that she's kind of like doing well with this album. Followed by Maybe You're Right, which is not memorable, which I think if we switch Do My Thing and Maybe You're Right, Do My Thing might have been a little bit more memorable because we've had that like kind of palate cleanser.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep. And then let's see, Someone Else, classic pop style song, good flow. Like I said, Miley, she knows this at this point. She excels at this. She knows how to do a classic pop style song. So she's just
Performer.
not like she give her
side.
yeah you give her a B tier and she's gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna turn it to an A just because of who I am now.
Yeah.
Let's see, Rooting for My Baby. It's a cute song.
I love this. I love the notes here.
For the next one, On My Own. It's almost Toe Jam and Earl funk level. Almost.
So good. Like
it could be on the Kickstarter game that came out, but it could have been on the classic Genesis games.
Fair enough.
That's where the funk level is. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Toe Jam and Earl. Speaking of like blending genres, like whew, when you get like funk and hip hop in a video game, like and it lives it. Hell yeah. All right.
I don't remember a thing about Toe Jam and Earl because I don't think I ever beat it. But my God, the music is in my head forever.
Legit.
Yeah, and I'm happy. That's all I needed. Let's see. And then the last song of the album, Hands in the Air. It's like a pop rock anthem kind of ending song, and I really feel this was a great way to end this album. I liked it. Like the song itself wasn't the most fantastic. It wasn't bad by any means. Like, and that's kind of been a theme. But like, it's the perfect ending to this album. I think she knew it. She's like, this isn't going to be the one that people are going to recall, but this is how I need to end this album.
Well, and it also kind of, I mean, this ties a bow on her sort of progression, on her evolution, where she had that sort of reconciling the country rock thing, and this ties a bow on that for me. Like this album, you know, Wrecking Ball can't go understated as what I think it did in the zeitgeist of pop for her. You know, this was
right.
Her. You know, Gaga shows up in a meat dress at the, you know, the Oscars or Emmys or whatever it was, right? Like, this is that moment where she just, like, shocked you out of your I'm a teeny bopper basic pop star. That was what, it was, the visuals of that were necessary, but the song is ultimately, you know, it's not FU. FU is such a, I mean, this is the one called Bangers. That song's a fucking banger. Like, it's so good. I'm so happy you made me listen to that because I had no idea this song existed. And this is in my retrospective. I went back and I listened to this and I went, and that was my, like, eureka moment for what comes next.
Actually, you should take that list I sent you and maybe post it in the chat just so for, like, people at the end, if they want to just do, like, the cliff notes, they can just do that as well.
Yeah, listen to this, like, cool, like, highlight sort of progression, Fly on the Wall, Liberty Walk, FU, Karen, Don't Be Sad. And this is where, like, I have a lot of opinions about this album, but I need to use the restroom. So maybe you can, you know...
I'm going to talk about my upcoming event, the Terathi Invitational, when you go to the bathroom. So, as you guys might, if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen, I am doing a invitational event because COVID's happening, big events aren't happening. Obviously, Nova's been canceled, which, you know, I was the TO of... and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna have some close local people that I know, and we'll, you know, keep it small and just have a little invitational. And I'm gonna throw my Terathi stuff around because that's what I like to do. So we got Bill Souza, Roger Barker, Michael Ryan. They're all you probably recognize Bill and likely Roger. All three of them are from the Pittsburgh club, Steel City Sigmar. And then we also have Neil LaRocca and David Roque. They're from the Ren 4 club. You probably recognize at least Neil from Twitter and running the Ren 4 events. Dave also helps run the Ren 4 events, but Neil's more of the social butterfly, I guess you could say. And then we also have Matt Hayward, Cole McGinnigal, and Alex. Alex, my Russian friend, but Gavlov. I always mispronounce his last name, so I apologize if you're listening to this, Alex, which I don't know why you would, because I don't think you really like Miley Cyrus. But, so it's a fun event. It's just going to be 3 games. It's all gonna be based upon win. If there's draws, it's a beer chug. That's how we're gonna determine a winner. I guess just definitely taking a little bit of Midwest influence into it. But yeah, I got little prizes made up. I got little giveaways made up. People are gonna be bringing food. It's gonna be a good time. Most of the coverage for it, and this will be the 29th of this month, so a week and a few days from now. But I'll put some stuff up on Twitter, but most of it's probably going to be on my Instagram just because stories works better to show what's happening throughout an event. So it's strengthhammer _ Twitter, Instagram. Like I said, hopefully you guys will see it and I'll repost it. So it'll be good there. Tomorrow, actually, if you're interested in this, the pairings, which I've decided, and the lists will be up. There'll be a link going up at 5 a.m. Eastern Time via my Twitter. So you can check it out and start enjoying figuring out who's going to win which match. Cool.
All right.
Did it.
Kicker here says, I think Chuck could honestly hold down a podcast just on pop music. I actually think you could branch out a little bit from Strength Hammer. I mean, fitness and pop music.
Maybe.
A little bit of Warhammer.
I say I don't know. I don't know if anymore. I'm reaching a point where I'm like, I don't know if people really care about my thoughts on Warhammer because it's just about Daughters of Cain anyway, and people know what I'm about with that.
Well, and you don't do the hot button clicky like stuff that people go like
Well,
that
I don't want to like.
But you're not. I mean, you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because that's not Chuck. You know, like it.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't like other people are doing it better than me, and usually I don't listen to them anyway.
So it's like that's the thing is like I don't need to do a Battletome review for you because like you know Haywo and Brendan and exist. Like
Yeah,
what am I
Weekly? Yeah, like
what am I possibly going to say to how good you should? I have my like little Mephisms that I like make fun of stuff or like talk about how sweet it is and I talk about like heavy metal and but I don't have any. I can tell you my tactics and like my hot takes on stuff, but like it doesn't compare to some of these like in depth like.
Yeah.
Haywo does something I can never do, which he can say something in like a single phrase.
Oh yeah.
I can't do. I can't do that. I need a paragraph to say what he says in like 5 words.
I need 27 typos, 2 pages, and some swearing to get my points across. I think if we're going into that.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Funny little anecdote. So next Wednesday, I'll be on Warhammer Weekly. I'm very excited to come back because it's been a while since it's been on. But here's the funny part. Vince asked me. I didn't ask him what the topic was. He didn't tell me what the topic was. I'm not going. And if he's watching right now, I'm not sure. But hi, Vince.
He's not.
Okay.
He might be watching it back in the VOD, but.
I'm not going to ask him what the topic is. And my buddy Matt, who's coming to the invitational, he's like, don't you want to know what the topic is? I'm like, I only talk about 2 to 3 things anyway. I'm assuming I'm coming on for one of those. If not, that's what we're gonna get.
Well,
it's like, and if we go somewhere else, I'll just hang on and go for the ride and do my best. That's. Well, it's like that's.
I mean, it's weird to hype the guest while you're currently on here, but Chuck, one of the things I love about you, and I mentioned this in like a just some text messages or whatever prepping for this show. You are like a little bit of a conundrum to me because it doesn't compute to me that someone can be this positive and like genuine. Like I have a positivity to serial killer sort of like axiom, and so
right.
like at some point you become so positive I just assume you're a serial killer. Like it's,
I mean, maybe.
Like Doug from 2 Plus Stuff, who's in chat here, like he probably has bodies under his porch. Like that's just like because like he's so. But I'm like.
But here's the thing: if Doug has bodies underneath his porch, every night he goes out and reads them some Battletome lore to put them to bed. Still, that's what Doug is a great guy.
Right, because he's a great guy. He just like like as long as you're not a jogger of a particular like height and weight and like hair color.
Also, go listen to this past week's yesterday's Warhammer Weekly with Doug on it. I'm not a fan of Nurgle. I do kind of like the lore a little bit, but like that was definitely an episode where I was like coming out of it like, do not start a Nurgle army. Do not start a Nurgle army because you guys knocked it out of the park. So go listen to that one.
Fantastic episode. Like, and that's the thing is like there are people like you kind of meet and you go like, okay, like what's your thing? Like what's your weirdness? Like what's your quirk? And it's like you're one of those people that I'm like, no, 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 this is like the legitimate like positive person who isn't a serial killer, or you
Not
have
yet.
just like you're like actually that person who's like secretly building a rocket ship and like has like 10 mannequins in your backyard and like you talk to them all and we don't know it. But like that's
No.
fine, man, if that's your weirdness. Like
It's fine.
it's like
Okay.
like it's like Vince. Vince is like a relatively positive person, but he plays Slanesh. So I'm like, oh, he has a sex dungeon, and then it balances out why he's weird, or not weird, why he's weirdly positive. Because like nobody is as positive as you or Doug or Vince without like having a rocket ship or bodies under the porch or a sex dungeon.
Why not all of them? Just get it.
Yeah, just
Do
get
it
them all.
all.
Like whatever. No, but that's because my brain is damaged in a
Well,
sense, and like I don't see the world. I can't. I have a hard time
well,
processing positivity, especially right now with no tournaments, which are my social interactions.
right.
Like those are. I live
Keep,
relatively rural, like you do, and so
mhm.
that's my like I have a calendar date I mark down, and then I get to go be around friends again.
Keep in mind too, like I've just generally been a positive, happy person for a long time. I've had my moments. I've had my growing. Like
Everyone
you
does.
get here,
Everyone does.
and we'll argue about this. You say privilege, I say earned. We'll argue about this to death because I see what you're saying, and I see it as like you as regardless, different topic, different show.
Yeah.
But like I'm very lucky. I have a wonderful wife. She had depression, so while I can never fully understand when someone goes through depression or anxiety sees, because I never had to live through that other than maybe the briefest of moments. Um, like I said, like that for me, that those feelings are passing and fleeting. Um, she's doing so much better, and she's really we like to say her and I like that we ruin each other. She brings me down to earth and I make her fly. Like it's a weird thing. But like that's the only
You
reason.
gotta find someone that balances your crazy, and your crazy is you're too happy. And
Yes. Well, hey, you always got to find balance. Always seek
yep,
balance. Balance
yep,
is the
yep.
best. But like that's the only reason even have like the closest, even like a outside understanding of people. Because otherwise, I'd be just like you. I'd be like, I don't understand how people aren't happy if it wasn't for meeting her. So like, keep that in mind. Like it's the same coin, just opposite sides.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
And like, yeah,
Yeah, the take that like I get from like the earned positivity or the earned happiness is like, well, you can just think your way through it. I'm like, you don't understand. Like
and I'm like, you don't understand. This
yeah,
is easy.
I know. Like thoughtfulness is
It's
is the best take I've heard, and like Alex Milonis, who's going to be on in 2 weeks now, I think. Maybe he's next week. Alex, it might be next week. He's going to be on, and we're going to talk a little bit about thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness is,
nice.
he's an actual psychologist practicing, specialized in anxiety and stuff. Like he talks about like thoughtfulness, and I actually heard Vince bring up thoughtfulness once or twice, where it's like you have these human basic reactions to things, and that you can't help it. Like you for the most, for all intents and purposes, you can't help it. It's like getting hit on the knee with a little rubber mallet. Like you just
Yep.
kick, right? We have these sort of mental reflexes to stimulus too. I skew towards like the sardonic or cynical and negative, and then I have to be like, why am I being an asshole right now? And then like I like snap myself out of it, and I look at the positive. There are times when the bad thing happens or the thing happens, and I spiral negative, and I engage my that sort of second tier of brain function. And I go, Andrew, you're being unreasonable right now. You know this is just a reaction. You know that you just blah blah blah. And I'm like, I can't, but
I
I
think that's
can't, I
very
can't
much in line
stop
with
it.
like the Buddhist style of inner peace
Hmm.
is always like you separating the being from the self
Right,
always.
right.
So like yeah, I do understand that. Like I said, it's like it sounds cruel, and I apologize. This is not, and this is just general. This is not towards anybody, but just like when you finally understand what happiness is and how to be happy, you get upset at how easy it is and how it's always been right there, and you've been in your own way the whole time.
Mm.
And I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to tell people to get there. It's just when you get there, I think that's what you see.
Mm.
And I hope everyone gets there because being happy is so much nicer. You
It
know what?
I have so many complicated thoughts on this, and this is supposed to be the Miley Cyrus episode. It was
Right.
originally going to be the episode about how, like, how do I fight this? Um, if I'm too happy for too long, I'm looking for the other shoe to drop. And by I'm looking for, the sword of Damocles appears above me. I'm not looking for it. I just start to feel the anxiety if I've been happy for too long.
Yeah.
I, I
Life is peaks and valleys, and you just have to enjoy the peaks while prepping for the valleys.
in
So
my
there's
in
always gonna
my
be down. There's
world,
always gonna be an up.
you have no idea. Like there's a part of my brain right now that is blaming me for COVID-19 because I am more successful than I have been previously in my life. I own a house now. I have kids and a family that I love and adore. They make me
Mm-hmm.
the happiest in the world. Molly and I have a awesome relationship, and I was the person who was like, I'm gonna die alone forever, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no no no, like we have one of those like 1 in 1,000 relationships that like doesn't compute to other people. And I'm like, why can't I be happy? And I'm like, oh, it's because I don't deserve to be happy right now. It's because and then like all these spirals. And yeah, I know you're saying I'm in my way, but you have to like, I didn't get this way on my own. I didn't put the
Right.
cigarettes out on my chest. I didn't stab me 3 times in my wrist and elbow, or in my side. I didn't,
Mhm.
get woken up in bed being punched in the temple by some drunken asshole. Like, so now I can't sleep at night. Like, I didn't do this to me. I just recognize all that stuff happened to me, and now I'm trying to get better than that. And it's not. You
Right.
can't snap your fingers and you can't go, I'm going to be better. Like, you can be like, I'm gonna wake up today and
No, no.
try better,
Like I
and
said,
like you can like, but you can't just be like, oh, you feel bad today, Andrew. Well, just think better, dude, and then you will be better. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I did all my stuff. I did push-ups, like you said. I ran around the block. I went on a walk with my daughter and my dog. Like, I stopped drinking. I did all these things, and I'm like, why do I still feel the need to like? Why do I still feel like that other shoe's gonna drop? Why do I still feel like that sword of Damocles is hanging over me? And I
yeah.
have
Like I
this.
said,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't have a roadmap to give you or anybody because I don't think there's a full set roadmap. I just know the end point. And I say end point. I want to say that very like loosely. I'm still learning. There's still so much more. Like I'm not saying like, oh, I'm done. I'm here. Like no, like I'm happy where I'm at, and I also know that I'm still continuing.
Well, and and
Um,
and
but
I want to.
I know where the point I'm. Yeah. Like so, I'm trying to just clarify that. Like I'm not saying like, oh, the magical fix is just to be happy and you'll be happy. It's like trying to be happy will help make you happy.
Well,
That's just one thing. But like
yeah.
I
No,
said,
and
I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be like, oh, arrogant, egotistical. I'm just saying like
no, no. I do, that's not my read. And
it's easier. It's easier than we think, but you aren't gonna realize it until you realize it.
no, it's funny because I meditate. I do a lot of these like thoughtfulness stuff. I know I have like a really bad temper. That's the thing that like I'm worried the most about in my family life because it's not like I'm like you know breaking stuff but like I get to that point where something happens and my reaction is to yell at the thing. This is not,
Oh yeah, no,
and it's
I
just
get
like
that.
I'm like I am ruining this dog because I'm yelling at it and all it hears is like it has no idea the words coming out my mouth because it just like peed on the floor or whatever. It has no idea. This isn't productive. Or like Lily does something. Why did you do that? Are you like what is wrong with you? Go and get in the other room now. Like I deal with the thing. And I'm like she has no idea. What are you doing? You're not helping her. And so like my kids, it's not every day that I'm just yelling all the time, but I'm like, I really hope that like the weight of the totality of all the other good stuff I try to do at all times outweighs it. I have a vendetta to be. I think the people out there that want to make you the happiest or want to make the world the best probably had a lot of bad stuff that happened to them, is a thought I have. Um, and like, I don't have any advice to anybody because I'm struggling, and I was paradoxically in a better place when I was about 25 than I am now at 35. I was way more together. When my mom died, it unlocked this part of my brain I didn't know existed. I had I told I've told this story to a few people, probably in private. I don't know if I've ever told it on the internet. Um, when I went down to my mom's funeral, North Carolina is kind of where I was raised. I live up in Wisconsin, obviously. It was about a 16-hour drive. I had to drive down there, and on the drive down, I sat in the back seat of the car because Colin was 3 months old, 4 months old. So I had Colin, 4-month-old Babby, driving him through West Virginia, which is a freaking nightmare, by the way. Like the freaking mountains. I hate West Virginia. It's the worst place. Um, and
Steve, you've been Westerner.
yeah, so we had to drive through there, and it's I say it and it sounds like metaphoric, but I need to express that it's the Matrix thing. Your mind makes it real. And so Colin's in the little baby 3-piece car seat thing where you have the handle and you pull it out the docking station, and he's facing the back seat and that like the sort of bassinet looking thing that the baby carrier, right? So he's in that in the middle. And while I'm driving down there, I'm such in my head, and because I'm thinking about my mom and the last conversation we had and all this stuff, and the entire back seat is gone. It's just me sitting there, and in the opposite seat is like 10-year-old Andrew. I can see me with my dirty blonde curly hair. My hair darkened super to like a robust mahogany when I was in puberty, but at the time at that 10 I had this strawberry blonde, dirty blonde, super curly hair, and I could see him with his like little cowboy boots, because my grandpa was a farmer and he'd always send me cowboy boots and little jeans and this little like sweater vest and little cute kid. And every mile we got closer, he got a little bit closer to me. And I'm telling you, this isn't me being poetic. I sat there and I kept looking over, and this mental state I was in, it just until eventually he's sitting where Colin was, and I'm looking at him and I'm looking at Colin, and I'm just like, we talk about pop music. There's a song by Ben Folds, "Still Fighting." It's it makes me cry every single time. There's a line in there where he says, "And you're so much like me, I'm sorry." And it says, "Good morning, sun. I am a bird wearing a brown polyester shirt." Like it's fan. You want a Coke, maybe some fries, a roast beef combo's only $9.95. It's okay, you don't have to pay. I got all the change. And it's just this like amazing song about like his when he first saw his son and he's raising him. And I looked at Colin and I'm like, please don't be like me. Just don't be like me. Be better than me. Be healed. And then that car ride eventually, the tiny me was sitting inside of me, and then it unlocked all of these memories I had blocked. I was 27 years old. Every memory of some of the like really really bad trauma, the stuff I still don't talk about. Um,
Mm.
like I talk about the abuse and the physical, like some of the other stuff I don't. All of that came back. I had successfully partitioned off this stuff. So at 25 years old and 26 years old and 27 years old, I was I thought I was this like paragon of myself. This finally I'd gone through the shit and I have achieved a supreme climb the mountain sort of positivity. And when that tiny version of me slammed back into me, it opened a floodgate of emotions I still haven't fixed. My temper came back, the temper I had meditated away, my alcoholism, like ramped into to being an actual thing. Like all of these things that weren't were there, and I have been struggling now for 10 years with it. Um, and it's 7 years. Sorry. But I've been struggling since then, and it's like there's all the stuff that I used to do to make me feel better and to get out of it, and I'm more powerful than all this situation. I wake up every day and I fake it till I make it, and then I do, and it's like none of it's working anymore, and it hasn't been. And so this is where I'm at. I know I need therapy, and COVID's making it awkward to deal with it.
Right.
But like I'm to the end of this, and this is kind of some of the stuff I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to talk about it so bluntly, so I apologize for that. Um, where it's just like there's I think there's a beauty to the world, and those beacons of positivity that you find along the way um, are awesome. And you are a beacon of positivity in our community, and um, don't think because I'm kind of who I am that I don't respect and appreciate it, because it it's awesome. Just like with Doug and talking about him, and I joke about the thing of the porch, but only because like someone else had already made that joke, and so I think it's like part of our rapport now. Um, I'm like, I mean, this is a person who chooses to find the positivity and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I wish I had that discipline. I'm the guy who sees the thing and I immediately just get angry, or not angry, but passionate and want to say the thing. I'm like, hey, I'm working on it. Sorry.
Can do. No, that's fine. I can't wait to go tell all the headless mannequins in my backyard that you are working on it, because that's what matters. And jokes aside, you just gotta try. One foot in front of the other. It's always about trying.
Well, and
Some people have easier. Like I said, I'm not gonna lie. My path was easy because I was already mostly here for some reason. I didn't go through a lot of bad stuff. I had a very loving family. Like I'm very blessed. So there's a lot of things I'm not gonna be able to ever relate to on. I can just say that I want everyone to be happy, because being happy and always looking on the positive side while still being realist. Like I'm not saying it's rose-colored glasses. Like I see shit. I just choose to be like, I don't need to deal with that. Like if something's not going to matter in 5 years, it's not getting more than 5 minutes worth of my effort as far as like stress.
yeah, yeah,
Like, and like I said, it's a type of freedom, and I know people will get there. It's just everyone has their own path, and unfortunately, the thing is like getting therapy is a great thing to do. Like I said, that's nothing. You shouldn't be ashamed of getting therapy. If you need therapy, like asking for help is the best thing anyone can do. Especially, I think, like men have a hard time. We're
with the
told, yeah, just
machismo.
man up.
Yeah,
Yeah, like ask for help.
yeah.
Like
No,
there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
no,
So
we,
like enjoy your path, and just don't stop continuing on the path. Wherever your path is, you'll get there.
well, and I just want to point out, you don't need to have had a story. There are people who had way, 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 way worse than me. My sister, for instance, had it way worse than me, to be quite frank. Um, but like, it's weird because like we feel like you have to justify how you feel if you don't feel right. And I have friends who had like by all measures like a like a pretty great life, but there's just some wire that's loose or some chemical that's out of whack or something, and then they feel guilt for feeling as bad as somebody else who's had it worse, and they're like, but I didn't have it as worse, and then that becomes an amplification to them. Where like I don't deserve to feel bad right now, and then so they have the guilt associated with the bad feelings, and it's like it's I just want to say that like however you feel is valid as anybody else, wherever you are on the spectrum of positivity to depression to anxiety, um, whatever it is. Like these are difficult times, and life is hard. Like it's hard. It's tough all over for everybody. Like you just look at the. I try to look for the good parts of stuff. I think about that great Sagan line, Carl Sagan, like you know, of all of the combinations of all the stuff in the universe, like that speck of star stuff landed here, and in all the million combinations of chance, like you exist now, and I find solace in that.
Yep.
That I
Enjoy it.
that I could have existed. I'm going to bring this into Miley Cyrus right now. That I could
Mm.
have existed at any point in human history, or not at all. I was probably as likely to not exist as exist, but I got to exist in the same time span as David Bowie and Freddie Mercury and Maynard James Keenan and Miley Cyrus. I look at that and I think that there's a beauty in that.
There's actually a line from Carl Sagan I'd like to bring up too, actually. It was in 2015, Miley Cyrus released her worst album.
In 2016?
2015, sorry.
Oh no. What?
Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets is my least favorite album of hers.
We're not friends.
I know. I knew this was going to happen on this one.
Oh my gosh.
And honestly, I don't want to say that this is to drag it back on the core topic here. I don't want to say that it's an awful album. You shouldn't listen to it. Nothing on it's good. It's, to me, this is her. This is like the experimental college years where you're doing things and
Disagree.
maybe they're not good.
The one before was experimental with all the collabs. This is where she. Okay. So real quick,
we're gonna disagree on this.
I have a couple things on in chat to catch back up on, and then we'll get to about how you're wrong. So you can hold on to your own pop culture or your own pop music podcast. Cool. Kicker says your terrain is looking killer. Love the temple pieces, and that belt is legit. Yes. Speaking of belts, we talked about like what if it's T Sports on Rob's side. I'm looking forward to my boy Michael Davis's sort of AOS championship whenever that gets going. Oh snap! Yeah, the raiding party has all the more incentive to show up. We all want to know, Chuck does think about the new DOK Underworld's unit for AOS. No, we don't. That's a whole other tangent. I'm going to kibosh that one. He thinks it's amazing. Miley Cyrus had a happy persona initially until the veil was shattered. See, that's an interesting take, Sajil.
Yeah. I like that take. And
then Kicker says the Herd Olympics aren't a thing. Everyone has a different journey, and that I 100% believe in. Like,
yep.
Pain. This goes back to the pain is relative. My threshold for my insomnia or my threshold for the things that stress me out is different from yours. Is different for yours. But that kid crying on the sidewalk because their like ice cream cone fell, they feel hurt in that moment just as much as I do. In fact, I have a memory of dropping. Like I made grew up poor. Blah 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 blah. I made a sandwich. I went outside. I dropped the sandwich on the ground. I'm the kind of person who only ever ate school meals, but I had this perfect sandwich and I dropped it on the floor. I felt as bad that day with the sandwich on the floor as I did most other days of my worst bad days. Like, because in that moment when I was like 7 years old with this perfect sandwich I had made, and finally I wasn't just eating the free school meals, like, I had this extra sandwich. I felt so bad about that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, now we fast forward to like some of my like horrible relationships and yada yada yada, and the worst day I felt in that relationship. I'm like, why did that feel as bad as the sandwich memory? Like why?
It's your world.
Because it's your world, right? Like it's relative.
Yep.
And so never ever ever again. People have way worse lives than I have. A pretty awesome. One of the things I'm having trouble reconciling right now is like, actually, by all things considered, things are going pretty great for me, and I'm like, I should feel better, and that's the guilt I'm giving myself. So it's not the Pain Olympics. I love it that way. I love. I'm gonna steal that for now. It's not. This is not the Hurt and Pain Olympics. It's not a thing. You feel the way you did, except for if you feel that this is her worst album, in which case you're simply wrong, because this is amazing.
To finish off my incorrect take, like I said, this is my least favorite album of her. It definitely it's there's a lot of weird territory that she explores in. There's more collabs in it, which is a good thing. But to me, this album, like I said, it's nearly 2 hours long. It's quantity over quality. I feel like this could have been like
It's 92 minutes long. So that's an hour and a half. That's not quite.
Felt a lot longer. So, the album begins with "Do It." This was a good like tone setting for this album. Like I said, I don't like to say like take apart. All right, I didn't like this album. Whatever. Here's the album. To me, this first song, like I said, it's tone setting, but the tone is this album doesn't know where it wants to go, but I am interested right now. Okay, like I trust you, Miley. where are you gonna go with this? And then we get to the second song, which is one of my favorites on this album, Karen, Don't Be Sad. And to me, I was like, is this in a Scott Pilgrim soundtrack? I feel like this is in a Scott Pilgrim soundtrack. Is she just making a Scott Pilgrim soundtrack? And then the next
Do you know who made the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, by the way?
I don't.
Beck.
I don't.
Beck made the entire Scott Pilgrim.
Did he? I thought he just did the
Was it just the title track? Like, he collabed with some people, but he was the composer.
Okay. I thought he just wrote Sex Bob-omb songs. I thought there was more than just him. I knew about him as with
he
Sex
has some
Bob-omb.
other stuff, but like he was the essentially like the collaborator, the coordinator of the soundtrack.
And I will say this: I love the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack. So like these songs, I did dig them.
Like Beck is one of those musicians. Speaking of, like, I mean, he was on the rock side of things, but he was pop rock, really, like turntables and a microphone, wow, turn it up. And Loser's the one everyone remembers, but Devil's Haircut was the one where I'm like, hell yeah, because I thought it was funny. Again, humor will always bring me back. If I could see the humor in something, you could bring me on board with it. Like, if I could see the humor in pop music, and I saw the humor in Devil's Haircut, I'm like, this is amazing. But he actually, he had a tune on, Beck had a tune on Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Free your mind will astound you. That's Beck. I'm like, this is Beck? And then he did True Love Will Find You in the End, which is a cover of this, old, sort of like folk, homeless musician guy, and like, I can't remember his name. Oh man, I'm losing all my hipster cred right now. Go ahead.
We're in the pop land. I'm ruining your brain right now.
Sorry.
So Karen, Don't Be Sad, Floyd song, Something About Space Dude, and Space Boots. I know you said you love Space Boots, but I take all of those. I'm just like, this is just her trying to do an excerpt of the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack. I liked it. I did like it, but it was like, this wasn't what I was wanting from Miley right now. So go ahead. I know you want to say a lot about, especially Space Boots, your favorite.
I'm just gonna let you finish off talking about it, and then I'm gonna tell you why you're wrong. So I want you to, like, you are now the prosecutor.
Do the whole album.
You're the prosecutor. You have the floor, and you're going.
So after you get me this interesting beginning where I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm interested, then you give me some Scott Pilgrim. We get into Fucking Fucked Up, which breaks the tone of these first songs with a little short interlude. This was an interesting one, because it's like 40 seconds or something, and it goes right into BB talk. It was interesting to see something like that. I haven't seen like that too often, like where it's like a short little ditty goes right into another song and kind of like changes the tone pretty quickly.
This is so old school, like Smash, like Offspring. I'm sorry, like I said, I was going to let you say your whole piece, but I got to say, like, Offspring had the intermission song.
Absolutely.
Intermission. Grab a blah, 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 like, he comes in with that voice. It's to keep them separated. Like, grab yourself a nice cool drink. It's intermission, and then it goes into like the really freaking like total punk stuff as opposed to like the sort of radio punk stuff. She does this here. It's awesome. Sorry,
she does. No, she does, but like it didn't work well because I didn't like BB talk at all. Like I said, right. I appreciate what she was doing. She does this twice in this album with these little ditties.
Right.
Then we get into Fuiki, which was an okay song. It wasn't like anything super catchy for me. Like I said, didn't hate it. Bang Me Box, which gets more of that funky feeling. Which, and like I said, I say here, I am shocked at how much I love Miley doing like a funky beat voice type thing. She just does it well. I don't know if that's like her strong suit, but like I just love it. Then we go into Milky Milk, which
it's the jazz thing, which she's pretty good at.
Yeah.
So
next is sorry, go ahead.
So Milky Milk is her. Literally, she becomes a Buddhist in this song. This is her. Like, she's been a like hyper Anglo Christian country music pop star her whole life. Milky Milk is like her, like, by the way, I'm a Buddhist coming out song. It's awesome. How could you not like this song?
I didn't hate this song. I just like I don't know what the fuck's going on with this one.
This is literally her like Buddhist anthem. Like,
I'm willing to accept that one went way over my head. I'm willing to accept that.
Okay, all right.
Then we get to
this is like she's like I'm a Buddhist now song. It's amazing. It's awesome. Sorry.
It's fine. And then we get to Slab of Butter, another all right song. I wasn't really feeling it, but like I said, it's generally, it's not a terrible song. Then we get to the I'm So Drunk into I Forgive You, so it's another little tonal change moment, which is weird. Like I didn't like the BB Talk, the other one, but like I thought that transition was better than this one.
Mhm. So this is
Um,
where, like, I think this is she does have a breakup around this album's time period. I don't know if it was like Liam or if it was who or one of the Jonas Brothers or whatever. She does have a breakup around this album, but I don't want to be that lazy taker who says this is the breakup album because like other music, there's so pardon me. Oh man, I'm so sorry. There's so much more going on here than the breakup album. Like, but like you're going to like Ava Adore, Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan. That was his quote unquote divorce album, but it's still like one of the freaking best because like apart from like the two songs where it's like these are the breakup songs, and then the rest got cut from the album, it's some of his best sort of like lyrical work. Um, uh, we talked about like the positivity stuff and like how I struggle. Like on a certain axiom, I will always believe that artists gotta suffer just a little bit to like hit that brain part where like true art exists. Robin
I can,
Williams,
yep,
Robin
yep.
Williams, bipolar, one of the funniest, warmest, most engaging individuals in our zeitgeist, right? Like the genie
Hmm.
redefined what it means to be a voice actor for Disney against his
Hmm.
wishes, by the way. Um, like, but like he struggled with the bipolar the whole time. Like you got to hit that other side of the palette, the flavor palette, so that you can, you
See the dawn till you've seen the night.
right. And
Yeah.
this is for me. This is that album. Like this is where I think she has some real like.
Like
Go on.
this, yeah, this is to me like this is the work. Like I didn't like this. My least favorite album, and it like yeah, she's going
Disgusting.
into the darkness. So um,
Disgusting.
so yeah, I'm so drunk is the transition to I Forgive You for
So good.
another tonal change.
Yeah. This is another
Then we get
intermission type thing.
yep,
Like we're intermission. This is another one of
yep.
those.
Let's see. I get so scared. It's a sweet little song, and the song right after it, lighter, another sweet little song. Both enjoyable. Then there's Tangerine. Like I said, it gets a bit trippy in parts, but it's a solid listen song.
Yeah.
Like I'll put that on again. It'll be like one of those ones. I'm like, yeah, yeah, let's put that back on. Sure. Um, there's Tiger Dreams, which just would not end.
That's fair.
It's like,
That's
eh.
fair.
Um, Evil's but a shadow. It really wasn't that memorable to me. Like none of it connected to me. I could see how it could connect to some people. For me, it was I will call it a miss. Cyrus Skies, to me, hidden gem on this album. It
Okay.
feels like a low carb Bond theme.
Hmm. Okay.
Like if this was just like turned up, like I think it's a 7 on the Bond level. If it hit up to that 10, I think like this could be like a Bond song, but like it's on a 7. Um, I do really love One Sun, chill, forward moving beat. Miley Tibetan Bowls. This feels like she was just like there and she's like, fuck it, I'm doing this. And I loved it. It's just Tibetan Bowls and her just like singing along.
This is
Yeah,
part of
it's
the
just, it,
progression of her becoming Buddhist, by the way.
yeah, this was really good. Like I said, I
Fantastic.
didn't I like whenever these types of things pop into albums. Like it's just like screw it, I'm doing this. I'm like, okay, cool, I appreciate that. And then Pablo the Blowfish. It's a fun, cute little song. To me, this feels like it inspired Kesha's Godzilla song.
Maybe.
If you heard that off, it's like it's just cute. It's just a cute little story. I don't think it has any meaning to anything else, and it's cute. I liked it.
I think
And then
she's super high when she wrote this song.
it absolutely could be true. And
Like,
that's fine.
this
That's
is
fine.
this is her yellow submarine, man. This is
Yeah,
the one.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Sorry.
And then we end with Twinkle Song. It's another cute little song. Like I said, that's the third part of this album. Is like it's cute, a little bit more
So
upbeat. So like I can see the progression on this 100%. Like even though it's my least favorite album, there's a narrative where it starts out melancholy, gets really messed up trying to find yourself, and then it's coming into the light at the end. I see that
and it
100%.
finds
I don't
she
want to say that
finds the
that's not
humor
there.
again. She finds the
Right.
humor again, like um so like for and this is where we're just always going to disagree and
Mhm.
like cool. Like I'm nothing against you, but like this is the one. This is her album where I didn't give a crap about Miley Cyrus apart from like ha ha ha, Party in the USA is funny before,
Right.
right? And we have a song at the end we'll talk about during the Hannah Montana era, but that came, like I almost didn't even know that they were the same person with that song.
Right.
Um, uh, this is, for me, this is where, again, this is where you get that, like, this is where she becomes an artist to me. This is where she gets that little hit of darkness. That little, she's only ever up until this point had sort of her connections and people have been writing tracks. This is the self-produced album. This is the one she produced. This
Right.
is the most Miley we've gotten to date.
And I will say this: there's no title track to this song because I would count that third part as the title track because the third part is Miley as who she wants to be, and then the dead pet is Pablo, both blowfish because it dies. Like that's the title track is the third part.
But this was an independently released, self-produced album that she released for free on SoundCloud.
Mhm.
She did this. This was her passion project. Anything Miley Cyrus was or will be is in this album. This is her Yellow Submarine moment. This is it. For me, this is when she became, you've got performer, you've got musician. This is when she became an artist. This is when she reconciled she hit up, like I joke about there's a breakup song in here. There's a Space Boots is basically a breakup song. And it's my favorite song on the album because it's so, like, on the nose and weird that I'm like, I get you. Like, that was the sharp. I talk about it all the time. I will always talk about it because this is a Mephisto special. The sharp edges in gaming, the sharp edges in music, the sharp edges in art. That's like the sharp edge song for me. That's the one that I pricked my finger on, and like I will always remember that time I pricked my finger, on that song. Space Boots, like she displays, because we're all vegan, like I've never heard anything intentionally, like, and she just like lilts through this like amazing sort of like stream of consciousness. This is how I write poetry. Is like I get so frustrated or sad or angry or energetic or happy that I can't my brain isn't connecting the right way. And I'm like, I need to just take whatever's going on up here and I need to put it down on paper real quick. And then like I get this weird sort of thing and then I look back and I'm like, okay, hey, that makes sense. I just need to change some words through this. And then I've got a poem. That was
If we're gonna,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No.
Finish your point.
Oh, I'm
I would
just
say, yeah.
Space Boots is like that for me. I'm like, oh, dude, like
Okay.
Space Boots. I'm like, I've been in that headspace. I have been there,
Yep.
like recounting a relationship. Where did I screw it up? And like, it's weird because I hate breakup music. Like, I just like breakup music is the worst type of music. But I'm like, this is a breakup song, but it's like the best breakup song ever written. Because like nobody's gonna listen to it. Like what makes it the best breakup song ever is it's not made to be a popular breakup song, hitting the familiar notes that all the breakup songs hit. It is her breakup song, so independently and uniquely her, in a way that like, because that you talk about like where you're like on the resonant level with pop music, that's where you're at.
Right.
That's where like I just like, boom, and like I'm in a super happy relationship, so like, of course, like whatever Molly's breakup song and that'll never happen. But like no breakup song equates to what that would look like. But that equates to like what, like in my flamboyant sense, like you're literally on the moon, like Space Boots with your space suit, like you confuse me so much. Like it's just, yeah, that's what that looks like because it's something I can't even conceive of. It's amazing. It's so good, and she lays herself out there in this very point of fact. She reconciles the fact that we've had some drug. This is where like, oh, she smokes the marijuana, like it was going into 2015, and she's like, yeah, and she releases this album where she talked about her drug usage, sitting there watching a movie, but she gets way too high because you're not there to smoke the other half of her weed. Like it's so good. It's so good. So I love Space Boots.
To me, so like if you take a balance point, and this will kind of sum it up. So we've had on the far left side, let's just say, her pop. This is her swinging past middle, because when you go so far on one direction and you're coming the other way, you're going to overshoot that middle point. To me, this is her overshooting that balance point of who she
I
is.
don't think she wants that here.
I think so, because the next album is where I think she self-corrects and finds her balance and finds herself.
I think the pop comes back in. I think this is where she was her truest self. This is not
This
the
is her
most...
raw. This is her rawest self.
Yes.
Rawest self, but it's
Yes.
not her true self.
This is a semantic debate. This is the raw artist coming through. This is her. This is the self-produced album. This is her unpolished, raw. Yeah, sure, raw. Like, she
Yeah.
collaborated with the Flaming Lips to produce this one. One of the...
Mm-hmm.
And I love, like, I have never smoked the dope. I've told this story before. My mom was bipolar. She self-medicated with everything from heroin to cocaine to, like, I watched it all as a 7-year-old kid into my teenage years, and I said, I am not strong enough to not ever have a vice. So I picked alcohol because Irish, and I'm like, it just made sense, and so I've had my battles with alcohol ever since. But because I went to parties, I mentioned the metalhead kid. I would go to these things, these parties. If I had a beer and someone offered me any of the drugs, I could be like, drinking. I don't mix my drinking with other stuff, and that became like a shield against doing other stuff. So like I've always stuck to just kind of my like one vice. It's interesting, but like I super respect the like that she just did tons of drugs and made this album. like
Oh yeah, like I said,
like she this is the one where she just like she was like you could see the song where she was drunk as fuck for this one, she was high as fuck for this one, like, and I'm seeing this is the most real I get of her, and she and what got me on this tangent is I love like psychedelic rock. I love like
right.
Caius, Queens of the Stone Age, Deep Purple, Captain Beyond, like Red Meat. Like I love psychedelic rock. This is her most psychedelic album by far and
Yeah.
away, and
It's definitely like the views between where we think she's become her true self is very much based upon our personalities at this point
Mhm.
and where we are as persons. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason why I think that's her worst album, and it's because of who I am. But for that same coin, that's why you love that album, which is fine.
I just see someone opening themselves up, going too far, like you said. This is why I love in Age of Sigmar. I want the models to go too far, right? This is
Yeah, yeah.
this is the I to Death Deepkin or KO or KO, like it went too far point. That
Well,
like
like I
that's
said,
what, and you can rein it back in after that, right? Like I can rein that back in
right.
with my conversions. Look at this segue. Look at this making this pertinent to Age of Sigmar. If you understand why I love this album and you hear me talk about Age of Sigmar, you'll understand my viewpoint on Age of Sigmar. That's why I'm fascinated by doing this episode. I want them to go too far. I will rein it back in. This is where she goes too far, and I freaking love it. That's what psychedelic metal often is it goes too far, and it's weird, and you don't quite understand it. But, like, if you could ever get into that headspace where they were in when they tried to make it, whether through insomnia or like you had a bad breakup or whatever it is that got them into that too far place, like,
Right.
I love this, and just to I'll let you jump back in and so on and so forth. But I just need to point out that I wouldn't be listening to Miley Cyrus, and we wouldn't be doing this episode if it weren't for this album. And I wouldn't have listened to this album if it weren't for my friend Shannaberry Blast on Twitch here. She does a bunch of retro gaming, but for her donation incentives, she would do acoustic songs, and she did Space Boots. She grabbed her ukulele.
Oh, nice.
She grabbed a ukulele, played it live on Twitch, and sang Space Boots. And I'm like, what is this intoxicating song? Like, what is this amazing tune that she just sang? And she said, some of you might recognize it. I'm like, so I had to, like, do the, like, lyric search where you, like, look up some of the lyrics you can kind of barely remember. And you just, like, end up in a bunch of random... Yeah. And you ran up in a bunch of random directions. And then, like, I find I'm like, that's fucking Miley Cyrus? Because up until this point, my experience with Miley Cyrus was, The Climb, Wrecking Ball and Party in the USA. I'm like, that's her? That's that artist? And then I listen, I'm like, and this is the free one? This is the one she released for free to SoundCloud in 2015, right in the zeitgeist of how we consume music. This isn't
Right.
the sell you a single. This isn't the sell you like a CD, which is an even more antiquated thing. This isn't get you to smash the button on iTunes. She sold you the whole. She gave it to you all for free on SoundCloud. It was so plugged in. It was so, for me, progressive. It was just prog rock, right? That's a whole, genre, the Talking Heads and stuff. Like, that was, for me, it was like just the most progressive. You talk about like what the person we think she is and so on and so forth. I'm like, this is the person, this is the progressive Miley Cyrus. Not just as a Buddhist, not just in her politics, is super big in the LGBTQ community. Like this is the progression of Miley Cyrus. This is where she really plugs into, for me, the what the world looks like and should be. And it's magical. I'm sorry, I talked over you like 4 times there. But
It's fine. I'm just trying to keep this moving along because it's getting past Chucky's bedtime.
my bad, dude. So we can talk about the other less important albums now. Let's go.
Younger Now. So I think one of her more important albums, 2017. To me, this is where she's found her voice. She's come back to that balance point. I'm loving it. It's probably my favorite of her true full albums. And I say that with a little caveat that'll come here when we get to the backyard sessions. So this starts out Younger Now. Starts out starts out the album on the right foot. It's a great track. We get the Malibu, which to me is one of those all-time favorite songs from Miley. That's top 3 at least, if not top 2.
So my reaction to Malibu was hippie time, like question mark. Like, oh, it's hippie time. She's got like the pseudo like Telecaster guitar, which had that really like twangy, wowie electric noise. So she's like that's being played in the background. Is like it might not be a Telecaster, but I always associate it with the old Telecaster guitar, like going like because it's got that really wowie. Jimmy Page was very famous for using a Telecaster on certain songs, like Tangerine, right? That's where I'm like, this is the hippie. This is her hippie phase. Like this is where she goes like hippie.
I will say that the reason why this song sticks so well for me is because I heard it literally driving to the beach with my wife, and it was like 90 degrees and windows were down, and this was just perfect. It was every feeling I had going to the beach with my wife in this song. I loved it.
Oh, and you made me listen to this one, and this was the one off of this album, and I'm like, I'm on board with it. I don't like, ever since the Dead Pets, like I'm like I am a Miley fan at that point. Everything she's made after and retroactively before, I'm like I can see it coming together. This is her reining it in though, and I'm like, you could go.
This is me. This is her finding. This is her reaching her natural balance point.
Okay.
And I'll say that with what's coming up at the albums next. But all right, then we get Rainbow Land, which is a song she does with Dolly Parton. Hell yeah. Mm-hmm. Weekend Without You, gentle rock. It fits the album's theme nicely, which like it's not too hard. It's just good. Miss You So Much, another solid song. This one's kind of forgettable in regards to this album as a whole. This probably would succeeded better on other earlier albums. It'd be like more of a standout, but here it's like, okay, it's just the song. I Would Die For You. What I put here. It feels like spring and is refreshing enough with a country twang. That's what I felt with this one.
I need to reiterate that like after where was it? Voice Maturing at Liberty Walk. Which album was that? Remember?
Just scroll up a little bit here.
After that
one
point,
before. Can't be tamed. Can't be tamed.
Okay. After that point, Miley has grown into her voice. She is really good at vocal control and evoking emotions and knowing when to go into her lilt, when to going into her like super poppy, like sort of like bubblegummy, like hitting the soprano notes, and when to bring in that rasp. And she's very like it reminds me, and this is where like the Stevie Nicks comparison really comes in for me. Like it's you're going to know it's Miley now. Like you could
recognize her.
like that rasp and that but that ability to balance it through those other sort of like progressions. This is where we get a lot of that in Younger Now, I think, where she just
Right. Especially if the song "Thinking," which is next. It's her fierce attitude with that voice
yeah.
that's been developed. Yeah, it's just perfect. Then we have Bad Mood. It's a moody and good song, slow and steady. It does have some beats of pop and country kind of mixed together. It's not country pop. It's just like pulling from both genres in a nice balance. Like I said, which is to me, this is the balance album.
Yeah, this is the opposite of that like trying to reconcile it album we talked about before, where like it didn't, that EP. All right, continue.
The both of those genres are working and they're not fighting anymore.
Right. Yeah. Perfectly
Love
stated.
some Love Someone, next one. To me, it is like an edgy 50s rock feel, and my note on this one was the dude abides. it just it
Yeah.
just feels like it would fit there
Yeah.
perfectly,
It's
you
just
know.
abiding. The song is
Um,
abiding. I love it.
then She's Not Him, kind of a classic slow song. It's not really a lasting one to me. Like I said, nothing hit me to make me connect it to want it to stay in my mind. Inspired. Uh, it's a good song to use as an ending. Ties up the theme from the beginning, and like I said, it kind of leaves me wanting more because this album was a little bit shorter. It felt like I think like a few more songs have been good. Maybe I'm just spoiled by Taylor Swift putting like 18 albums that are all great on an album, but um, yeah, like I said, I like this album. To me, this is where she's reached her natural balance point. This is where she's like, this is who I am. This is who I enjoy. I don't care what people think because I've been high, I've been low. This is where I'm at.
I like your read on it. Mine's of course is like because of our different reads. I think this is where she is. I think this is where she has reconciled it and she
It's,
dialed it back a
she's
little bit. Like
she's put her foundation down.
I think I want to hear Miley in another 10 years. Does that make sense? Like I want to hear her when she can get funky with it. Like when she
Well,
can
see,
really. Okay, yeah.
I don't think you need to wait 10 years because we're gonna go right into 2019 where she is coming. 2019
But this is
because
this is an
after
EP now, so this isn't a full studio album.
right, and this is honestly like she's doing this as a prequel for what's releasing this year.
Okay.
And actually, no, like less than like a week ago, she released another song. So like I was able to get it in. But so Younger Now, she found that balance. She laid her foundation. She's like, this is my balance point. And then you go to She Is Coming. To me, it's a good listen. It's a nice taste of what's to come from Miley because now's where she's like I know who I am. Now she's going to do that, reach and expand that zone, and that's where you're going to get closer to that darker side with her solid foundation of where she's at Younger Now.
Hmm.
So it starts out with Mother's Daughter. Like I said, continuing to evolve, push it. She's a solid artist. It's a nice like subtle. I put anthem style song. I don't know if that's right. Followed up by Unholy, another one of my top favorite Miley songs. And this is more in line with Miley Cyrus and her Dead Pets theme.
So my
Like this,
notes here are experimental again. Finally, let's go.
yeah. It's experimental, but she knows where she's at. She knows the baseline, I think, for herself.
Okay.
Then there's Dream. It's a nice little step. It's kind of like a hip hop type thing for Miley. I really enjoyed. And by the way, like all these, like I think a lot more on here also had more collabs. I just stopped recording names because like she collabs with everybody and she does it really well. Catitude was next. It was all right. It had a good beat. The song didn't really feel special to me. Um, it was funny.
Probably her
Um,
humor coming back in, honestly.
yeah, yeah. Catitude's definitely about the humor. Um, Party Up the Street, another simple song, kind of forgettable. Nothing wrong with that. And then the most, I forgot to put notes down for that one. I think it was just another one. It's like, yeah, it's a decent song. Um, it's a short album, good listen, taste of what's to come. Because this year she's releasing She Is Miley Cyrus. We had She Is Coming, She Is Miley Cyrus. So this is like a theme back to back with what she's doing here, which I
Well,
really like that.
I
Like,
mean, she in a weird sort of zoomed out way, she has been trying to become Miley Cyrus. She announces, "Hey, I'm Miley Cyrus," but need to
mhm.
truly insert Miley Cyrus. This is that transition that Britney failed at. Britney did not break away from the mold of here is the what that quintessential pop star looks like for your time and place, right? Um, I think the greatest success, and I'll you can be mad at me for this one, but I think Miley Cyrus has succeeded at something that like even Tay Tay hasn't, which is like Tay Tay is an artist and she's always the appeal of her is she's always been like she's always been very hands on in her own creative process. They weren't just like feeding her songs to sing and stuff like that. But she hasn't her experiments were always like studio side. She hasn't really like truly her side experimented. And that's where
I will caveat you with Folklore was her doing that finally. But
okay.
I'll agree with you for most of her work. Folklore is her doing what she wants to do. Everything else be damned.
Okay. Okay. And so
Yeah.
like Miley's got that out of the way now. And so she's
Yeah.
done something where like she's been able to like do the Disney star jump into full pop stardom, which is a hard jump, right? Like
Yeah.
two of them have successfully done it. I guess Drake too from like what Fugazi or whatever kind of did it too. Not Fugazi. People know what I'm talking about. But like making that jump from like TV show thing, you age out, blah blah blah. Like she's done kind of the impossible at this point, and now she has been on this quest to assert who she is for
Right.
such a long time. Yeah, go ahead.
So with She Is Miley Cyrus coming out, it said 2020 release. I don't know if that's still on pace. I imagine it might be. Did they push it back?
I don't know. I'm skeptical. I
Yeah.
don't think it will. We've had a bunch of new YouTube videos, like August 18th, I think,
Yeah.
is even like the recentest video I saw from her.
Yeah. So we have Nothing Breaks Like a Heart, which has been out for at least a year now. Great song. I loved it. It's another. I
You,
mean, it's another collab.
you're gonna have to vamp here for a while. Haywo says, walks in, hey guys, what's going on in this? And just like deadpans.
Oh no. Um, yeah. So I guess just in general, even though we disagree a little bit, me and Mr. Meph, uh, and I'll kind of go into this right now, because my conversion, obviously, thanks to uh, nice hobby bear, Brendan. For my Sylvaneth army, I used Miley Cyrus as the baseline, so Miley Cypress, and I kind of like the comparison in hindsight now, looking at Miley's journey through all these albums, and Hilario's, because I think Hilario has the most character developing story I've seen in Warhammer Fantasy to Age of Sigmar, and I think Miley has one of the most interesting and elaborate kind of developing narrative within herself with frames from the music, like personal stuff aside. So really interested to see what happens with this upcoming release, or whenever it happens, whether it's 2020 or 2021, because I think she's really kind of reaching out, and I'm kind of curious where she's going to go and where she's going to experiment. But I also know, much to Meph's chagrin, she's going to have that baseline into the pop. I think that's going to just always remain. So that'd be a good one. And actually, I wonder if I can bring up Twitch chat and see what you guys are chatting about. Let's see. Oh, there's only 3 of you here. Oh, I'm surprised there's 3 of you. 2 viewers. Oh, we're losing them. We're losing them. What are we doing? My boomer ass is Googling her right now. Hey, whoa, God. Oh, God. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Just listen back to this episode, Haywo. You'll know everything you need to know about Miley. But I wonder where Mr. Meph went. Oh, he's back. He's back.
My boomer ass is Googling her right now. Okay, so it's a girl.
I started talking, I looked at chat, and then someone left, so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, but Nothing Breaks Like a Heart. I love it. Good collab. Strong Miley voice. And then just very recently, Midnight Sky. Another wonderful. It's a great like late night beat feel
Good.
song.
That one's good. Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah.
other ones I listened to on accident because it came up in like that autoplay and I was taking notes. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, that literally just released like a couple days ago. So,
yeah,
promising album.
August 18th, I think that's the one. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
crap. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where she's gonna go with this one. It may not be far enough for you, Mr. Meph, but I think it's gonna be far enough for me.
I want her to go full on Queens of the Stone Age, like psychedelic rock with like jazz and country bluegrass roots. I want that Miley in the future. So I hope she's obviously listening to this right now.
Yep.
And
Big fans.
she hears me. Huge fans. Like it's weird because like we both had like different journeys to get here. Um,
Hmm.
and I mentioned Shanaberry Blast, and she did the acoustic thing with Space Boots, and that made me listen to uh, the Pets album, and I'm just like,
Right.
like that was where. So Molly, I mentioned kind of earlier on, Molly was like, um, you should have been listening to Hannah Montana to prep for this episode, and like clearly I did not. We should have been watching this together. I would have got you prepped. But like then I pull out Miley songs she's never heard before, and she's like, "How do you what like type thing?" Because she was the demographic for this. She's 5 years younger than me. Like Hannah Montana was her world.
Right.
Like that
Yep.
was in the same way, like that was, and then listening to Miley Cyrus. I mean, Carrie Underwood's her favorite musician, but like, like that sort of like that aggressively marketed pop star. And I think something I've kind of arrived on is I don't think Miley Cyrus, specifically Miley Cyrus, was aggressively marketed because as we've kind of gone back through this, she got a lot of the B tier stuff. I feel like the where she broke through it was where she took agency. This is where like I think that Madonna metaphor is perfect. Like she had just enough clout to like put enough of herself in her music because if she couldn't, she would have just been crushed under how many other forgettables, right?
Right. But I mean, that wraps up her key albums. Like, if that's all you wanted from this chat, you can turn it off now. But if you want some bonus material, stick around
Yeah. Yeah. So this
because
is
backyard sessions.
so we've said, and this has been a theme throughout, and she crushes covers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But for me, she becomes a rock star when you listen to her cover of Jolene in the
Oh my.
backyard.
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
you have these backyard sessions, which is go ahead. Maybe you can
I was,
frame what are the backyard sessions and what are, yeah.
So there's two, 2012 and 2015. 2012 is just, then that's the one with Jolene. It's just two songs, and this is part of her organization, and it is like a hippie thing. I forget what it's called, but
Happy Hippie Music is literally her
yes, yeah.
philanthropist
But
venture or whatever.
my overall take, treating these as a whole, this is a must listen for not only Miley Cyrus fans, but just fans and lovers of great music. Because everything about it is just enjoyable. It's enjoyable to watch. It's enjoyable to listen, and you could just put these on over and over again. So
Happy Hippie,
2012.
sorry, Happy Hippie Foundation. That's
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Okay. Link it in the chat. I'm sure Miley will appreciate that.
No,
So
I mean
the first from two.
no, it's. I mean, I need to bring this up. It's works fight for
Yeah.
injustice facing homeless youth, LGBTQ youth, and other vulnerable populations. Like she
That's great.
is, since 2015. Like she, sorry, that was 2014. She like gains her like she's been nudging towards that. She came out as pansexual when she was 14 years old to her mother. Like she I mean, that wasn't a like. This has multiple sources, by the way. If you look at the Wikipedia, you can trace all the sources back through it. You can keep going back. Like she came out as pansexual before pansexual was really in the zeitgeist as like even terminology for like the spectrum of the sexuality and gender. And then they're just like, okay, honey, that's nice, and like and so like this is she's not grandstanding. This has been I think part of what we're feeling with her, who she is, who she wants to be, and so on and so forth. Part of the thing that I think is really really awesome in the Dead Pets album is that she is really coming to terms with early on that fly on the wall where like I look back on that song and I'm like she was already knew the struggles of who she truly was and like how does she bring that to the foreground, which is why this whole thing has been, this is, now Miley, right? That's the new theme right now with these albums, because getting this sort of like what were once terms that nobody knows what the heck pansexual is in 2007 or whenever she first got her start, but by 14
Right.
she had already mentioned it to her mom. Like it's I think there's a really cool progression of this artist who's been trying to break out of a very pop culture centric world that she has a bunch of advantages in, but like you you want to use those advantages to become who you ultimately are, right? Like if you get a leg up, use it to, don't just fall into that comfort zone of like, okay, I got a leg up and I get comfortable. She hasn't gotten comfortable. She's always been trying to like push the boundaries. I'm a Miley fan. Like I really am.
But after you see the progression of her story and her narrative through her music, you understand a lot more. Like I said, and keep in mind this is like middling with when this was happening. But like I said, so first song for Backyard Sessions 2012, uh, Lilac Wine. To me, this one drags you through memories, both good and bad, of current and past loves. It just that's it's a good proper like sit down with a nice drink and just listen, and you'll go on a little adventure with it. Um, Next up, the second song. There's actually three. Look what they've done to my song Ma, which is another cover. I think a lot of people have covered this song, so when I look back on it, I'm just like, who? Wow, okay. It definitely captures Miley's love of that classic country feel. I think the way she sang the song, she based it on kind of like a rendition and like love of her father's career, like in that true country. And then obviously we go to Jolene, which is Dolly Parton's song. To cover, it needs to be not only listened to by all, but felt by all. I can't explain to you how much Miley kills this song in such a positive way.
Her. I mean, so this
Like,
is. Go ahead.
if you ever seen like an athlete when they're like just kind of chilling, hanging out, and then it's like 3, 2, 1, go, and their face just changes in their warrior mode. Like you've seen that switch turn on instantly. When you're watching the video of her singing, like while it's setting up, she's just kind of like dancing and bobbing, and as soon as she opens her mouth to go sing, like you can see it in her eyes, like she becomes what she needs to be for this song.
Well, it's that released right before Bangers, but she would have been in the middle of recording Bangers when she does this, right? So she has got all of the tools of who Miley Cyrus will be in our modern context at this point. She has all those tools, and at this point, she just locks in, and it's so. I mean, I'm sorry, Dolly. You're kind of punk rock as fuck, right? So like, big ups, big love, like to her. She just Dolly Parton just released like a really awesome progressive statement about like the world. Like Dolly Parton continues to crush it. Like she is the poster child for most crushing it for the longest period of time one can be. But
Actually,
like,
I'll caution everybody. I found a live version of Miley and Dolly singing this together, and it's worse. It's worse for it. I like the way Dolly sang it. I love the way Miley sang it. You put them together trying to sing it, I'm just like, please both stop. Don't do that again.
but like,
I
I
don't,
mean, I mean, Dolly had the original "Wind Beneath My Wings" and stuff like that, and then Whitney Houston just like broke off the knob and like cranked into sixth gear and like threw the knob out the
yep.
window, right? Like, I mean, Dolly Parton doesn't begrudge people from doing that because she's a fantastic performer, voice, figure, so on and so forth. But like, she laid that foundation, right? And then like, she's happy to see people build like upon it, and
Right.
and that's I mean, and you have this just amazing. Dolly is a goddess.
Right.
It's
And
true. It's true. But you have the. I mean,
that's
this.
not. Oh, sorry, good.
No, it's just like when I heard Miley Cyrus do Jolene. I talked about
Mm-hmm.
where retroactively or retrospectively, I think she became a musician type thing or artist was what I said. Like because you have performer, musician, and artist, and that doesn't mean that they're like ranks 1, 2, 3. That doesn't mean that like one's better than the other. Um, but like it was like a job class, like to acquire like each one. Like you can put all your shells into trying to be a performer, and then you become Marilyn Manson because he's not the
Right.
best musician. He's an okay artist. He's a good performance artist, but he's not like he is boom 100% an
Right.
artist. He is a
But
performer.
to
There's a point where Miley Cyrus has just like actually crushed all three.
right.
And for
But
me, go ahead. Yeah.
I was like, wrap up your thought, because like I said, I got only not much time left before I
No,
need to get
when
to
I
bed.
heard Jolene, like, and what I had listened to and what we've talked about here, I'm like, when I heard her do Jolene, she gained this like extra credibility to all three, which is appreciator of all of the above. Like, cause she gave honor to the source material. Like, there's a point when Nine Inch Nails. I talked about how I listened to Nine Inch Nails today. That's what I started my day on at work, and I listened to some podcasts and I listened to some other music at the end. Trent Reznor has Hurt. You have Johnny Cash covers Hurt, and I realized at a certain point in time, uh, I wasn't singing the Nine Inch Nails version of Hurt anymore. I was singing the Johnny Cash version of Hurt.
Yeah, because it's better.
And Trent
It's
Reznor
better.
himself said, "It's no longer my song; it is Johnny Cash's song." And I
Yep.
think it was Chris Cornell who says, because he also covered a Rusty Cage, and he says, "You know, you made it when Johnny Cash covers you, right?"
Yeah,
And so
you
you have
can't.
the.
And
Go ahead. No.
as speaking of that, you know you've made it whenever you sing with Joan Jett, and you do Joan Jett just as good as Joan Jett's doing Joan Jett in the same song,
And
which is different, which is the first song of the 2015 Backyard Sessions. It's just amazing.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, and Miley makes Jolene her song, and
Right.
that's really the takeaway, and all of the respect to Dolly. But like, I
I
want
don't think
to
Dolly. I don't think Dolly would disagree. I don't think she'd disagree.
if
She'd be
I
like,
want
yep.
to hear Jolene, I want to hear Miley's version now. And I'm just like, I'm such a. We spent 3 hours talking about how I'm a music snob, to point out how much of a concession that is for me,
Yep.
the music snob. All right, man.
No, you're right.
We'll finish strong now.
Yep. So like I said, just mentioned different with Joan Jett. Like Joan Jett being a song improves it. Miley crushes it and does Joan Jett just as well as Joan Jett does Joan Jett.
Mm-hmm.
Followed up by No Freedom. Again, like I said, sweet slow song. This is great. Like it gives you like that cool autumn day listening. Like put on a scarf, put on the grab the pumpkin spice latte and just enjoy this one. And by the way, like most of these again are collabs. So then Androgynous in 2015, it's a happy ditty. There's some humor in it. It's got some star talent all around. Like I said, Joan Jett's in this one again. I can't remember the lead singer on it and the guitarist.
For which one?
Androgynous,
Mm.
2000. And then that same singer stays and does True Trans Soul Rebel. Great throwback, very classic punk rock style.
So this is Laura Jane Grace.
There you go. Thank you.
Laura Jane Grace is a trans trans musician. She is amazing. One of my this is from Against Me, one of my absolute favorite bands, punk rock.
Yeah, I didn't know about her, but after listening to this, it's like I want to go find out more about her art.
Black Me Out. Look for the song Black Me Out. There's two versions of it. There's like a sort of pre-transition version, and there's a post-transition version. Listen to both, and have your heart just so good. Laura Jane Grace is she's the hero we deserve, and Against Me is this amazing, like just pure folk punk band out of its time.
Yep.
Like
listen, and True Trans Soul Rebel that she sings with Miley is the classic punk. It's great.
No, that's because like Against Me has like the pure punk, but yeah. Check out Laura Jane Grace, and I mean this is my like plug, and Against Me, like, so good.
That was next on my list is to follow up more on her. So after that we get Peace Will Come, According to Plan. It's like a little melancholy song about hope is what I felt from it. Then next up we have Ya Baby. And like I said, Peace Will Come, Ya Baby. I don't know who the collab is on it because I forgot to write it down. But Ya Baby is really interesting because like it's a backyard session with Miley and she's in the video. She steps aside and she just lets people she's collabed with, and she's like, "You guys do this song. I don't need to be a part of this," which is such a cool thing. Like, this is her thing, and Miley's like, "I can't do better. You do this."
Yeah.
And then she does another version of "Look What They've Done to My Song, Ma." But even just the 3-year difference between 2012 and 2015 on this one, it's showing the improvement that she's had in her ability and her comfort and knowledge of who she is. After that, Don't Dream It's Over. It's a nice, strong 90s vibe. Another take, another duet. Happy Together. Classic song, and what is now a classic cover, I think. And once again, Miley takes a cover and she just hits it so far away you don't even know where it went. And then probably, like I said, this is gonna be one of my top Miley songs. Is her cover "50 Ways to Leave Your Lover." Like I said, she just covers everything well. It's such a good song, and she just covers this one so well, just like all the other ones. And then she finishes it with "Pablo the Blowfish." It's just a nice live version of her cute little song. So it's like, it's just fun.
Do you want to know why? Because that album's
Why?
the best song. Or that album's the best album. And that song is like the culmination of an entire awesome joke of an album. Like, not joke as in like, ha ha ha, this whole thing's a joke.
Yeah.
Like, there's an awesome punchline on an amazing album, and that's why that's there.
Yep. Which is actually really interesting. It's deleted off of her channel. You can only find it on another channel, so you kind of have to search that one separately. But 2 more songs left.
Yep.
One that I wanted to throw in, which is BBC One Radio on YouTube. She covers "Summertime Sadness." It's a soul-tearing rendition. I just love it. Just
it's very good.
Listen. Yep.
Yeah,
and then
this is amazing.
Yeah, and then the last song we're gonna cover, we're going way back to the very beginning. Hannah Montana. This is for Mr. Meph, "The Climb." Solid song to keep you going. It hits with the weight of a high school dance, though, in my mind.
So, I need to point out, and this is where humor in pop music is super important. I used to start my streams in a pre-time anyone's listened to RantCast. If you're listening to RantCast, you never watched my Twitch streams like 6 years ago. Okay, you didn't. When I would go to queue up League of Legends, I would play The Climb. Because it's The Climb. Like, you have
Yep.
You're trying to climb your elo,
I'm on the ladder.
your rank.
Yeah.
Yep, you're climbing the ladder. And so whenever I was a variety streamer at the time, I would, I oftentimes played the Rao Rao Fight the Power from Gurren Lagann. Hip Hop is the Soul of a Man, or whatever the name of it is. I would play that usually as my intro song for my streams back in the day. But whenever I would do League of Legends, I would play The Climb by Hannah Montana.
It's awesome. I love it.
It's The Climb.
I was wondering why it was one of your favorites, because like I was listening to it, I'm just like that like it hits with the weight of a high school dance hit me, and I'm just like, I don't like it. Like I don't hate. I hated that. It's like a cringe feeling.
Yeah, no, it's and this is where that like humor and like don't take yourself too seriously comes in when it comes to anything in the world. Never take yourself too seriously. This is my greatest advice to anybody. And so if you can imagine, like 7 years ago, Mephisto as a platinum jungler before Challenger tier existed, it was just platinum and diamond, right? Like we're the final two. Playing The Climb to play myself in. Hey, it's Mr. Mephisto. Time to like go jungle and gank people. But like you got to hear Hannah Montana beforehand, because you should never take yourself too seriously, and that's the lesson from The Climb. But also, there's always going to be another mountain. Always going to make you move.
Yep.
It's The Climb.
So that is the Miley Cyrus discography done by Charles Thomas Moore and Mr. Meph. Yeah. You're welcome, everybody. This is what you wanted. This is what you donated money for.
Yeah. We ended the night where I said we would on 3 viewers. Oh shit, nice. 5 viewers. No, I'm sorry.
Hell yeah!
Oh, man. Tim King Tristan showing up and saying Blood Bowl sucks. Okay. If you think so, it steals from the smart.
Read the room. This is not the topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a closing thought when if you're done here, and if you have any more closing
Let me.
thoughts.
I've got. I want you to close the show ultimately. So I'm going to say the bit, and
Okay.
then I'll have you say your bit. Um, I used to in my first few episodes of Rantcast, I used to come in as Magical Mr. Mephisto, the man with every opinion unlocked. Um, and this is a joke about it, achievement unlocked. Like I have all the opinions. Um, and I don't self-hype too much, but given my current mental health state, I feel like I need a little self-hyping. Um, I wanted to do this episode because you can have a formulating opinion view in the positive to anything. Like you can go into something, with this show I have the challenge of like if I just shit on Miley Cyrus the whole show, that's a much different show, you know.
Right.
But I don't want to come at that this way. You can go into anything in your life with a try to analyze it in a positive light. That doesn't mean you're phoning it in. That doesn't mean you're being a shill. Because there are substantial takes here, and you're gonna walk away and be like, I don't like her music. Cool, whatever. You don't. Um,
Yeah.
but like, you can't say that we didn't have a viewpoint that we backed up from a positive light, and I think that that's an important lesson. Is that like you can formulating opinions is a ton of fun. Like it's so much fun to like just formulate an opinion on a thing, whether it's a war school or a battalion or a battle tome or an army. Like it's fun to formulate an opinion, and so I had a lot of fun formulating my opinions here because something super important happened. I got to see this thing I kind of knew about from a friend's perspective, and when like you try to like make friends and see the world from a different perspective, like it makes the world a better place. And I just wish we all did that a little bit more. So the man of every opinion used to be a joke about how like I talk way too much about everything, but tonight I felt like it was like I had got to think about what that really meant for the first time, because it was something that was said to me negatively, is that you have an opinion on everything, but like tonight I got to be like, what does it mean to formulate opinions, and we can't forget how we got here, which is over $7,000 raised for Mental Health America.
Yeah.
um, and so I will formulate an opinion on anything if we
For
make the
money.
world a better place. Well, yeah, for money. I
For money.
I will give you my credentials if you want to like pay me. I will tell you exactly. No. Um, what's
I,
your
I'm
what's your
very,
closing
I,
thoughts?
I'm thankful that you have a platform that allows this type of fun, and I'm grateful that people are interested in my views on the topic of pop singers. Like I said, this was really fun. I went into this like, all right, we got this, let's do this. Um, I would suggest this to anybody. Like, pick an artist and literally go through the discography in order. Like, just have a little Word document up. Like, copy the song titles over and just take little notes. This was super fun. And like, I learned a lot about Miley I didn't know from her music. Like, there's a lot. Like, I was like, holy crap, this is some of this stuff's getting pretty deep. So I just want to leave with this final sentiment here. So put your hands up. They're playing your song. The butterflies will fly away. Nod your head like yeah. Move your hips like yeah. Get your hands up. They're playing your song. You know it's going to be okay. It's a party in the USA. It's a party in the USA.